Started.
Hi there, it's me, Egil. Apparently we had a little upset. I was upside down. But anyway, hope everyone's feeling safe and happy.
Not in real life.
Not in real life. Oh well, I want you to be happy in real life and safe. Today I'll be answering questions and I'll be talking about the runes. So, what are runes? Runes are symbols, angular symbols, that were carved years ago by the Vikings, and they were essentially a magical secret script. In fact, the word rune means whispered secret. Later on, each rune has a letter, and it's called a Futhark. What's a Futhark? Well, we talk today about alphabets. A Futhark is the rune stream, and it always spells the word Futhark. Like you have ABC, these are a Futhark. That's what the word spells. Unless, of course, you're an Anglo-Saxon or Northumbrian, when it spells Futhark. And that's just linguistic differences, which we'll cover later. And what were they made out of? Well, you've got to bear in mind, they didn't have paper. Parchment was for the very wealthy. And they were meant to be carved in wood, stone, bone. So straight lines are far easier to do. Now, Bragi's given me a tablet.
That's my arm.
Sorry?
I'm pointing out that was my arm on camera.
Oh, that was his arm. Okay. And Andre says, yay, Egil Thorsson in the house. You betcha, baby. And as I say, if you have any questions, please let us know. We'll try and answer them. I'm not the founder of all knowledge, but not far off. So, we're talking about runes at the moment. And, you know, they were made out of all kinds of organic material. Another thing they use runes for are called merchant tags. And they look like tent pegs, and they have the name of the merchant on, and they're stuck in bales. I just had a stick thrown at me. And Celtic God, hi there. Not to go off topic, but wanted to let you know it appears the powers that be do not wish Bragi to receive his bone needles.
I sent him an email to his email address.
All right. This sounds like a Bragi
question. Maybe you're not that better to send bone material. Take him out of rest.
Okay, well, I think if you contact Bragi on that one, I have no idea. The day I got the address, this again is Celtic God, the day I got the address, masks became a requirement, and my stubborn self refuses to wear one. And Celtic God says again, continue with the lesson. Yeah, I know what you mean about masks. Just to digress a while, I see them around town in Derby, and they wear them around the chin, which is basically pointless. Okay, so we've covered the what is a Runecaster? Well, a Runecaster is somebody, male or female, who actually throws the runes or casts them. The traditional way Tacitus speaks about is they have a white sheet, cut fruit wood and carve glyphs and throw them. That's one way of it. The way I was taught, you have a bag and a cloth, you shake them up, put them all face down, swirl them clockwise for positive, negative, will I lose or whatever, anti-clockwise. You do 3 and you interpret them, or you do 3 twos. Again, there's various casts and you interpret them thus wise. I've got another message here. This is from Andre Lafay saying, Celtic God, I'm glad I'm not the only one refusing to wear a face nappy. Well, that's up to the individual, so I'm not going to say one way or the other because I'll upset one side or the other and whatever. All I could say is please stay safe. These are dangerous times, you know, and it doesn't differentiate to who you are or what you are. You're in danger of catching it. Okay, now then. Oh, we got a big star on that one, I think. Oh, how to cast the runes, I read that. Read comments. Okay, I'm reading comments. See, we're all bound by rules and regulations. Bragi rules with a rule of iron. It's quite terrifying at times.
Put a sword.
Oh yeah, he's just said he's going to rule me with a sword. Ooh, matron.
And an axe.
And an axe. Oh well.
I'll just send Olaf.
It's nice, isn't it, eh? What a world we live in. Any comments we have? Okay, so I'll move on because that's the nature of the beast. Egil explains each rune, all 24. Good grief. Hope you've got a lot of time. Okay.
The runes are in that rune bag, by the way.
Sorry?
The brown one is, or your older first off.
I was going to use these actually.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's clearer. I'm going to stand up.
Let me adjust the camera.
Oh, here we go.
We was not prepared for you to be standing.
Well, I think it was on the cards.
You could be like the headmaster of rune teaching.
I think there'll be a few who disagree with that. Okay, here we have, this is called the Elder Futhark because, guess why? Because it's the oldest one that we know of at the moment that is an organised Futhark. It's about the 6th century. Came to us, I think, via ancient Greece, the Etruscans, and then settling down in the Norse. So, we'll start at the top. This is Phi, letter F in our alphabet, represents wealth. Here we have a buyer and cow's horns. Wealth was measured in those days by how many cattle you had. Yeah. Here we have again, letter U, and this represents the oryx. Now the oryx is a bit like a crazy bull on steroids. You don't mess with them. Now in the Anglo-Saxon early Norse period, to prove your manhood, you had to kill one of these beasts. Last one I think was killed in the 17th century. But if you think of the big Spanish bulls you see in the bullfighting, double it and you got something of a small oryx. Thorn, that's the TH sound. It represents, not unsurprisingly, a thorn. So, now what it suggests is handle the situation carefully, like you pick a rose, you could smell it. You get your thumb on it, you're going to get a wound. So, handle carefully. Here we have answer for the letter A, and represents a person speaking and the legal profession, but it's speaking. There you are, there's a man, there's his mouth open, or her mouth open. They usually talk about men, but that's just the way of it. And it's for the letter A. Interesting one, this. This is R, as we use today. It's rad, representing a journey. But what I find interesting is this, is a cotter pin that you imagine the axle, put the wheel on, it's got a hole, and you put this pin through to stop your wheel falling off. And that's what that is. Ken. This is 2 letters, K and C. And if you imagine this as a torch, and this is the smoke or flame coming off it, and represents enlightenment. Suddenly things are open to you, you can see clearly, clear of mind. It's got this as Q, it's not Q, it's actually letter G. This is Gefu. When you write to your girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, or whatever, you sign it at the bottom. And this is a gift. There we go. So, they didn't have the letter Q until the 18th century, so Bragi's dropped the ball. Anyway, this is win, and this is happiness. If you notice, these two put together forms the Chi Rho in the Catholic Church, which forms love and happiness, which is basically what Christianity is about. We come now to the letter H, or Hagal. This is one form of it, and it represents 2 roads with a 3rd road, so you're crossing over. Change, hail, is actually what it means there. Another interesting rune is this one. This is called Need, and actually, as the name suggests constraint. Don't go hot-headed at things. But apparently, and you may argue this, I was always told this actually represents a nerve. How did they find out what a nerve looks like? Perhaps you can let us know. I'm sure you will. Isa, I, there you go. Holds and freezes is what they call a delay rune. Now, that's not a bad thing. What it is it gives you time to think, time to work things out. So, yeah. Yara, harvest, can mean the space of a year. Again, it's the reward for all your efforts. It's like, you know, the more you tend your land, the better you look after it, the better you harvest. And well, that's what that is. This is, well, again, I've never seen it as an EI. I always known it as Y. And this is U. And its flexibility represents a bow. When you pull a bow, it goes out of shape, you release it, to release the arrow, it snaps back. And this is what it represents, is a situation that will snap back. Things that could be good or could be bad, depending on what the situation was. But basically saying, watch out and learn from it. This is fourth, letter P, and it's representing a dice cup. And a dice cup, imagine that there. And it's again, the ancient Greeks would put stones in there, cast lots or coins or whatever. And from there, this is the letter Z, Ewa. And it's a stance of a man or a priest standing like that with their arms up. That is the standard way priests and priestesses would invoke the gods, and represents vulnerability, because when you're like that, you're quite vulnerable. And this is C, represents lightning, and it's the letter S. It's strength and power from the gods. Unfortunately, this was hijacked by the Nazi party for that reason. Strength, you see the SS had that. Ignore that, that's in the past and done with. Interesting one, this is Tu, the god Tu. Depending on who you talk to or who you read, for this is the god Tu. Now Tu is the god of victory. However, victory has its price, and with Tu it was very apparent. He stuck his hand in the mouth of Fenrir the wolf after they tried to bind him. They then came out with a very fine rope, and then Fenrir was a bit concerned, so he said Tu to, well, who would volunteer to put their hand in his mouth. Tu did. When he couldn't free himself, he bit Tu's hand off. Here we come to, it represents victory, as I say. Here we come to B, Bjork. Bjork is a birth tree. It's the birth, and it's about the birch tree. And this is a pregnant woman. It's beginnings, new ideas, fertility. Always a useful one to have. This is Njal, and it's a horse. It's a horse there. It's got a saggy back, but it means you're there for the long run. You need a good horse for the journey. Another female sign here, which is really good. This is, if you notice, it's half a Tu. This is Lagu, means water, and water is associated with ladies. But what it's saying is water is a plastic element. Whatever shape you pour it into, it molds itself to it. Put it in modern parlance, go with the flow. Ng, this is Ing, which actually means Lord. This represents the scrotal sac, the seed of life. And what he's saying is ideas come from that, and new concepts and ideas. So that's always a good one to have. And we come to this one, the letter D, which is Dag, and it's sunrise, sunset. There's the sun and there's the beams. And it's a slow but measured situation. It's like if you've got a business arrangement, it's going to take time, but it's going to be better for that. I suppose the nearest thing is Bragi spilling coffee all over his nice clean carpet. We have Dag. It's a maturing. I can't say I've got the. You just bought me coffee. And it's a slow maturing thing, which is good in business and relationships. And we come to the last rune in the Elder Futhark, Orthel. This actually represents a house on stilts. If you look at archaeologists' pictures of the late Neolithic, you'll see houses on stilts. And it's a delay rune, but it's to do with the home. It's to do with the family. So anyway, that's a rough thumbnail sketch, and also they have reverse meanings. I don't know whether Bragi wants me to go into reverse meanings or not.
Yes.
Welcome to the reverse meanings. So we'll go back to the beginning. Reverse, in this case, means a loss of wealth. It's not always free. It's a loss rather than a gain. Reversed, pretty much the same. You know, you're in it for the long run, but don't expect too much. Thorn, again, is one of these, you reverse it, it's still saying the same thing, but just be more aware of it. This one's interesting, as we say, is answer. Someone's trying to mislead you, and they're doing it deliberately, so be on your guard. Yeah? This rad, this way up is a journey you want to make, you've got to make, and you're happy, more like a holiday. But this reverse means it's one you don't want to do, but you've got to do it. It's what you've got to do. Again, reversed, it's sort of, you're not going to get to the bottom of things. It's going to be blindsiding you rather than giving you illumination. That's rather clever. That's non-reversible. It means no matter which way you do it, it's there. This, the other way around, is unhappiness. Things you'd rather not happen are going to happen. A girl, again, you can't reverse that one, so that's just a change of direction. Need. This means be extra on your guard, and maybe it's a time to just say what you feel rather than show constraint. Ice, again, can't reverse it. There you go. Same with that one. Same with that one. This, fourth. Now, it's what it's saying is you're looking at things maybe from the wrong way. Instead of, if you imagine, the analogy I was told was, imagine going into a house through the window instead of through the door. Stop, rethink, and you'll see that, oh, maybe I ought to do this. This reversed, I have seen it on graves. Vulnerability, you've got to be careful, you know, watch your step. It's a dodgy thing. Again, this one can't be reversed. This one means to reverse means what you're not going to succeed. Maybe it's time to not enter into that particular discussion. Just keep out of it, or if there's a battle to be fought, maybe you give that one a miss. This reverse can betoken illness. The seriousness of it depends on the other runes there, but you know, watch your health. This reversed means pretty much the same. It's a long haul, but perhaps a bit longer than you think. Man, I don't think we did this one. It's two people talking. It means friendship, using the friend network. If it's reversed, it means you're not alone, but you've got to ask people. You've got to get out there and be known. Lego, if it's a man, it means basically look to your feminine side. Yeah. And on the women's side is, yeah, keep out of it. It's not worth your hassle. Non-reversible, non-reversible. This is a big delay. It's Othel, means it's a big delay. Maybe it's not worth the wait, but these are thumbnail sketches, and as I say, I'm sure people will actually have their own views. And there's nothing wrong with that. Once said to me that you know, you get 10 Runecasters, you get 10 different interpretations. It's what appeals to you or what comes into your mind. I'm just going to go and have a look at this again. I've got to stand up till Bragi comes back. Each rune. Any comments? No. We'll carry on. Runecast. Okay. No comments. When we talk about alphabets, runes, you know, there are more than one. There's a lot. And there's some I'm sure that we haven't even deciphered. This is the one I use. It's the elder Futhark. The next to come along was the younger Futhark. We then have the Northumbrian Futhark, which I'll be honest, I need to read up on. And that has 33 runes. Traditionally they have 24, you go down to 16. However, in the 30s, there was a need, and some runecasters don't use it, and that's the blank rune, or weird. And that represents that which is outside the physical laws of physics. Some people interpret it as karma, or you know, payback, what you get out, you come back with. It's a bit more subtle than that. It's difficult to explain, but my first explanation, I think, is probably nearer the mark. I think it was Israel Regard who did it in the 30s. The need was seen. Some people today don't actually use it. Here comes Bragi. So I'm going to get him to alter the camera so I can sit down again. I am a nuisance. It's what I do, you know. I'm just going to park my body. I'm just going to see what these sticks are he's been throwing at me. It's probably rude. Oh, I can't read it.
You can't read that one. That's rude.
Yeah. Why so rude?
Yeah, it's an example of a Viking wood stave.
All right, there you go.
But I just made that one for you.
All right.
Oops.
Hey, oh, I've turned sideways here. I'll put that down there and I'll
Well, you
look
shouldn't
at
have
that in a bit. Okay, right. Woof woof. Read comments. Have I got any comment? Oh, here we go.
Ask for questions.
No, we're still on Face Nappy from Andre. If you've got any questions, please let us know. So we haven't at the moment. Northumbrian runes. As I said, there are a lot of different Futharks. I did mention Futhark. Well, that's because Anglo-Saxons used them and their linguistic differences. There are 33, apparently. Yes, there are. There's no apparently about it. Apparently, I've got Northumbrian runes in here. Oh, yes. I don't know whether you can see them or not. I can stand up to do this, but never mind. So, there are people who do rune casting with the Northumbrian ones. I don't know of anybody who does it, but there are bound to be somebody out there. The origins of the runes are, as I say, they go way back. I mean, some of the runes, if you look at the Greek alphabet and the Elder Futhark, you can see some similarities. You could certainly see them in Etruscan script. So why is that? Well, Roman Empire expanding, and one thing the Romans did was kill off the intelligentsia. As their intelligentsia, they're not going to hang around because they know they're going to get killed. So some went south, some went north. Those who went north into Scandinavia, Germany, Scandinavia, around there, they went into tribes that were illiterate. Now, a person who can write anything to somebody who can't read must seem magical, and thus it is with the runes. The thing I find interesting, and nobody's ever really sort of said anything, either in the world of the occult or academia, how did these changes in the Futhark happen? And why? My theory that from the elder Futhark to the younger Futhark is Christianity took a hold and they wished it to remain secret, or to just keep it in the family, so to speak. And some runecasters have become Christian, some hadn't. And those who hadn't did slight differences. Also, linguistically. I mean, when I was a kid, language is very different from it is today. Perhaps you have an idea as to why this is. And I think it opens up a whole new can of uptouch, in that the idea of people travelling, professional priesthood, travelling to these places to let people know. And where did they know where the runecasters were going to be? Perhaps somebody else has got an idea on that. I don't know. Atropa has a comment. May I ask why you two refuse to wear the masks? Okay, well, that's up to Celtic God and Andre to answer. Everyone has the reasons. So, if you'd like to leave your comments, we'll see how it goes. We don't have to unless we're in enclosed areas. I don't know. We'll see what people say. We live in very odd times, to say the least. And the sooner we get a vaccine to knock this dreadful thing out, the better it'll be. So many people have caught it and so many people have died. And those who have lost loved ones, relatives, I'd like to send you my and Bragi's sympathy that, you know, let's work together and do what we can to stop this foul disease attacking people. Okay, so we were speaking about the Etruscans and people of that nature. So you have a literate person in amongst illiterate people, and the use of looking at and seeing how the gods influence things is not a new thing. It goes all the way back, way back. I personally believe it works. It works for me. I'm not saying it works for everybody, or you should be this, that, or the other. All I can say is it works for me. So they're basically the same thing, and as I say, the Northumbrian one does have some subtle variants, and there are differences. I'm going to have to tip these out so that we can have a look and see what's what. Bear with me. Any more? Got them all. Yeah, there's always one left behind. Okay, so I'll place them back in the bag as we go through them. Rad. They are still the same. Put that in there. Take my knife out as a pointer. Slightly different year. See, it's got a bit of a kickback on each one, but pretty much the same. See how there's difference. This one is a different one altogether. Again, I've got to look at this to interpret it for you, but it's just to show you how different things are. So leave that one out for the moment. Bjork, the same. What have we got here? Dag, the same again. That's that one. I'm pointing to it on the board so that you can see more clearly. Isa, straight line down, same again. Here we have Yo, same one, looks like the letter M, even though it's E. And sorry, Fi, there at the top, again the same. This one I know is as calc. It represents stone, so I'll put that there. Hagal, it's got 2 bars now. It has been said, I read it somewhere, that it's supposed to be southern Germany where they put 2 bars on it, but it's essentially the same thing. So we'll put that back in the pouch. Tew, good old Tew. There you go at the top, same again. So we'll put him in the bag. This is an interesting variation. This is ing. You notice the diamond shape. This is that's a more neater shape. But this one, again, is another variant of the same thing. Need, the same. There you go, up there. Oh. Some of these, I'll be honest with you, I don't know what they're called. I've got to look them up. This is thorn, same meaning up there. Yo, protection, there you go. Oh, got 2 of them. We should only have 1. Never mind. I'll point that out to Bragi. Yeah, you've got repeats here. Put those 2 there. This is another variation of Hagal. There you go. This is an older one. It's a cross with a straight bar through it. Now, if you cut an apple across, you'll get the same thing. It's an interesting little variant. Some people prefer to use the older variants than that. We've got repeats in here, Bragi.
Oh.
I've got 2 repeats at the moment. Again, slightly different, but none the worse for that. Lagu, again, the same. There we go. Now, this is a slight variation. I'm actually saying, honestly, if I don't know, I'll...
Well, you're still looking into the Northumbrian runes, aren't you?
Yeah. Again, I'll put that one down there. Again, it's a bit of homework for Egil. Here we have, again, 4th, the dice cup, which is there. Another one, I've got to search that one out. Again, another variant, I've got to search that one out. Gefu, same as normal. There you go. This is the letter G. Actual fact, a little clue for you is the name. The first letter is what it represents. Answer, so A. And that's there. There we go. Pop that down there. Sigil. That's a neater version. Again, same meaning as the elder. Man, again, the same meaning as the elder. That represents fire stick. It's basically the letter Q with a kickback up on both sides. I think that's cool. Win, the rune of joy. Same again. Othel, there. And here, same again. So essentially it's much the same, but due to linguistic differences, we do have extra runes of which, yes, I have to research. But I'd rather say I don't know than misguess. Some of you guys out there, I'm sure, will be able to tell us. So I'm just putting my knife away so I don't stab myself. Put these bad boys back. Okay, we have another comment. Atropa, sorry for the interruptions. No, we welcome your comments. This is for you to say what you think and for us to respond. It's a conversation, in other words. So please don't feel guilty or anything like that. Please just tell us what you think. Maybe give us some news from your neck of the woods. It could be Australia, America, Scandinavia, or next door, whatever. We're always glad to hear from you. So there you go. Okay, we've had a quick rough rush through with the Northumbrian. Read comments. Read comments. Back up Bragi. I'm sorry, I'm just going to have to move to read it. Okay, well, I don't know whether Bragi is going to make an appearance or not, so we'll have a look. We'll move on to Viking versus Anglo-Saxon runes. Well, to be honest with you, I mean, I'm assuming that they would have a rough idea. I mean, I can see some of them and interpret them. I've actually got, if you can see here, this is an Anglo-Saxon rune, it's Gar. That's to protect you from anybody throwing anything nasty at you. It returns back to them. So, and as I say, hopefully when the world is a kinder place, I will show you the extent of my tattoos. You might need a sick bag, I don't know. But we shall see. So, anyway, Bragi's disappeared. Vikings and Anglo-Saxons, they seem to think, let's be honest, that they were always fighting each other. It wasn't necessarily the case. When Danelaw was there's plenty of Saxons living in Danelaw, and they intermarried, and yeah, there were the odd, well, I say the odd skirmish, they were fighting, yeah, on the borders, but there's always friction there. And to be honest, the majority of the Vikings were actually farmers. Somebody once said that if you spoke to the average Viking, he'd be extremely boring because all they talk about are their crops. Well, maybe that's the case, who can say? So when you're talking about fighters, you're talking about farmers who are trying to get some more wealth or later on land. You've got some professional warriors. It's about 1% of the Viking population. So yeah. Right, okay, let's move on. Viking versus Saxon. How to buy runes. Well, there are various shops. If you troll the internet, we've got a shop in Derby. We did have two, but it closed down. But there's one, I believe, up St. Peter Street in Derby. Your best bet is to go online and look for craft shops. But to be honest with you, you could make them just as easily as yourself. What do you need? You need a bag of natural cloth. You need a natural element. Wood is probably the best. Pine is just as good. Buy a strip of pine from, I don't know, your local DIY shop. And you need obviously a saw to cut them into equal lengths. You need 25. That's if you're using the blank rune. Get them all the same shape and size. And you can burn them. This is what Bragi does. When he makes runes, he burns them in. You can get wood burning sets. Be careful with it. Some people have them on bone. Sea washed stones are a good thing, but you also need a cloth on which to cast them. Now, some people want to do them with blood. I wouldn't suggest it, but I know that's not going to stop some of you. It's hang on, we've got ourselves another comment from Evil Charles saying, "Hello everyone, hello Evil." And Bragi is standing smack in front of the camera. Oh, it's that one, is it? Okay. Yeah, it's the Diddy one. I was looking at the big one. So great apologies there to people. I naively thought camera was taking pictures. Still, never mind. That's how we learn. So, how to make them. And you store runes. Well, you store them in a pouch, as I say. Now, when you go to bed at night, slip them under the old pillow, and in the daytime, put them in your pocket. Use them. The more you use them, the better they are. And your energy. Now, I would suggest don't let anybody else use your runes. I just realised I've got a cup of coffee over there that I've ignored, and brought to you now by the elegance of Bragi. Oh, let the camera see you, baby.
I'm in modern clothes.
Is in modern clothes? Well, I'm sure people realise that you do have modern clothes. It's not often you see a man in a fur-lined bikini, but you know, what can I say?
Well, you know, how you walk here is up to you.
I don't know. That's most refreshing. Is that going to fall off? Nah.
There's a table there.
There's a what? Oh yes, he's right.
You can be civilised.
Well, I won't go that far. Okay, and if you store them like that, common rune casting mistakes. Well,
oh, your rune sticks there.
Thank you. People, some people treat it as a game, and if you disrespect the gods, are you gonna? It's like going to somebody, being rude to them, and wondering why they don't want to talk to you. At best, they'll leave you alone. At worst, we don't even want to go there. So that's one mistake. I had a friend who got a set of runes in a book, wanted to learn it, and was coming out with some unpleasant comments when they came out, and wondered why, of course, he didn't get any results. Some people also, and I can't emphasize this enough, are just not suited to it. A friend of mine, I advise take up stamp collecting or something else, but don't go near the runes. It's not because I'm being elitist, it's because if you're not suited to it, it could cause problems. Not for you, but for those around you. You've got to think of that. This is the point. Think of other people. You're not there to be the fastest one in the West to annoy people or hurt them. If you're thinking that, then you shouldn't be doing it. You're there to help people, give them idea or whatever, and make the world a better place. So that's one thing. Another thing is that you'll find some people, the casting cloth is all got pretty symbols and things like that. My advice is don't have it plain. White is useful, just for one colour and of a natural material. If you're having nylon, you're introducing imbalance. So have a nice clean white cloth. Do you know what I use? A handkerchief. You go to a pop. Hang on, I've got another message coming through here. It's all happening down here, folks. What's the blank rune? Yes, we mentioned this. We've already mentioned it. But so let me just file that. So as I was saying, it's not a game. It's not a toy. And people say, well, I've tried it and it doesn't work. Picture the most famous, the fanciest television set you've got. It's big, wide-angle television screen, slightly curved. You name it, it's got it. But you haven't got any electricity. What have you got? Well, what you've got is a big paperweight. Hang on, I've just got Anglo-Saxon runes thrust at me. Ooh, matron. So, you know, you've got to believe in what you do. I mean, it's like, if you want to use an analogy, it's like going to church, in a Christian church, and praying and not believing and wondering why prayers don't work. You've got to believe in that particular faith. You cannot expect a God or whatever to do anything for you if you don't do anything for them. If you don't believe in it, why should I do anything? And it's as simple as that. So, you know, that's another thing that happens. I have to be honest. if you're doing the runes, you can't really sort of be, well, this is difficult because a late friend of mine, she was fundamentally a Christian, but she would do the runes. But I'm drawn to actually a Christian coat. There's Bragi in his underpants. I'm drawn to what she's Bible quote, one a man cannot serve two masters. And I think you're doing disservice if you do. Yeah, you want to be a Christian? Be a Christian. You want to be a pagan? Be a pagan. It's difficult to tread both ways. I'm sure that there are people who will disagree with me, but that is your prerogative. So there we have the runes. I've actually, there's a book over there. I'm just going to have a leap across. Forgive my blurry movement. Tell you what, with sticks and bits of note. It is a book on Anglo-Saxon runes by John Kemble. I'm not familiar with it myself. It's printed by Anglo-Saxon Books, and there's an ISBN number. Those of you who are interested, if you've got a pen and pencil paper ready, it is ISBN 0951 620 and as I say, it's printed by Anglo-Saxon Books. So if you're interested in that, that will be helpful. I'll be honest, I haven't read it. I have a feeling I will be. So let's put that down there for the moment. Bragi's in his startling blue trousers. By the way, he wears boxer shorts for those of you who are interested. They were candy striped ones. I prefer a demi-pant myself. What is a demi-pant? Well, instead of the old budgie smugglers, it's a cross between them and boxers. They're close-fitting. They're what a gentleman needs. A pant for all season.
Here's a question then for you.
Okay.
Now you've got into this subject. Did Vikings wear pants?
Underwear is an interesting thing. We know that the Romans did, from the dig up at Hadrian's Wall, when they talk about subligare, which is underwear. Now, the Vikings, some did, some didn't. To quote Blackadder, some would tackle out. The front of the trousers had like a U shape for the gentleman's accoutrement, and they were covered over by the long skirta and shirta. Some wore cloths. Underpants, underwear in general is quite a modern thing, really. I mean, women underwear didn't come standard until about 1860, and even then they were split, to say the least, without going into too much detail.
I think there's two accounts in the Sagas about them wearing underwear.
Bear in mind the Sagas are 12th century.
Well, maybe so.
It's possible. I mean, if I were a Viking, I think I'd want something there to give one support.
Why would you not have? You've got an under tunic.
Yeah.
Like a vest. Why would you not have an under breeches?
Well, also, I mean, given the life, I mean, you know, yes, possibly. I think it's a case of personal preference. Some did, some didn't. I know that some trousers apparently did have, how can I put it? Yeah, like I say, a horseshoe in the front, and modesty was covered up by the tunic and underskirt. It's usually a question that's asked a lot in schools, that and where did they go to the lavatory? It's quite a natural question. Viking lavatories, a beautiful example is in the Jorvik Viking Centre in England, in York. We have found excavations. I mean, everybody's got to go. I mean, let's be honest. Basically, if you imagine a pit with a plank with a hole in it and a wicker thing around it, and you haven't got the usual lavatory paper, so you're using sphagnum moss. We did find, I'm assuming it was a joke, and we found sphagnum moss with, shall we say, concretions on, and somebody put stinging nettles in it. So whether that was accidental, deliberate, I don't know. But, you know, no pun intended, don't poo-poo-poo, because we have learnt so much from it. I was taught by one of the most leading lights on coprolites, that is Professor Bone Jones of the University of York. He now runs Dig in York. He is a fascinating man, and he takes a subject which it quite amused me, because when we were in class, we got all these nice young girls from public schools. He's asking what they find in the bottom of the lavatories. That's just my sense of humour. But we learnt a lot. That's how we learn about the parasites and various things. I have digressed.
We've got the image there, thanks to you, Brad Pitt in an outhouse.
Yeah, well, Lav Pit as he'd like to be known.
Thunderbox, my dad called it.
They're extremely useful places to dig. I mean, we dug one in York. It was 14 feet down, but we found a knife handle with Ringerica style. I don't know if you can see that. That's Ringerica, very rare. We found what we call the Dark Age Filofax, which is a series of wax tablets in wooden frames with poetry in it, and also several rings. Because let's face it, you've got to be a brave person to go 15 foot down to grab the ring. So, there we go. We've moved on from that. How did the church view runes and runecasters? Interesting. Originally, it was part of everyday life. If you imagine Christianity and paganism rubbed together, and they were learning from each other. Eventually, Christianity got the ascendancy. The Synod of Whitby, I believe, 614 outlawed rune casting. Still carried on, and in Iceland, in about the 15th century, it was illegal, punishable by death for anybody doing the runes. However, in the 19th century, there was an advert in the Icelandic papers for a curate, and one of the curate qualifications he had was he had to read runes and be able to read them. Happily today, this is all in the past. The runes themselves were given a disfavour when the Nazis used a Futhark created in 1902 by Guido von List, but we still have hangovers from that. In fact, the two major runecasters were imprisoned in Auschwitz. One died, the other was so traumatised he didn't do the runes again in his lifetime. And this is the problem. I mean, the sad irony is, you know, Hitler talked about Aryans and Vikings and that. The Russians, whom he despised, were actually more Viking than they were, but, you know, that's a poison chalice. I've now got a comment from Celtic God. Is reading runes, casting runes the same thing in the context of the Advent? Is it Advent? Advert. Casting runes is a way of, to me, I can only speak for me, I can sort problems out, my own personal problems. I can forecast trends in the future. And the great thing about the runes, if you don't want that to happen, then don't follow the advice they give you. If you do want it, follow the advice. And I do find that for me, it works. I mean, I've been doing it for 40 odd years. If I thought it was a waste of time, I would have stopped many moons ago. I've always felt, for me, that the runes and maybe just feel right. Doesn't feel right for everybody, as is my belief. I'm a member of the Odinic Fellowship, which, you know, is, to me, it works for me. And we're not an evangelical religion, so, you know, go with the flow. Well, if it works for you, fine. If it doesn't, then don't. But casting of lots and things like that, I mean, the Celts used Ogham. That's an even more complex thing than Northumbrian runes. Some weird noises coming out from over there. I think it's the wind blowing stuff. Who knows? Bragi has disappeared. I'll take this opportunity to have a sip of delicious coffee. But runes mean different things for different people. I find them a great use and comfort. I do read runes for people. Like I say, if you don't believe in it, it ain't going to work. So, you know, as I say, horses for courses. And from Finn Wraith, are the runes just advice, or can they be commands sometimes too? I would say they are more advice. Commands, well, that's a different matter. They will say, possibly, this is the way to go, and you've got minimum of 3 runes. That last rune is the result rune if you follow the other 2. If you don't want to follow that, then don't follow those 2. It's very good. It's something that not a lot of other forms of divination can do. Bragi's waving an axe around. In that if you don't want to follow that, then don't do it. You know, just ignore the result. A get out clause, which a lot of people don't. It's got a little chopper.
I just made a handle.
Yeah, I think that is more like for ships, for that woodworking.
I bought another of them last night.
Yeah. So anyway, to get back to you there, Finn. Yeah, and to be honest with you, gods can come on, but it's up to you whether you obey them or not. I mean, sometimes they'll throw you a curveball because they can. And also they get it wrong sometimes, and if you know you're right, then have the courage of your convictions. I have no idea what Bragi's doing. He's picking up a cardboard box and trundled off elsewhere. So, any more comments? That would be great. One thing I haven't spoken about, which I think bears witness, not all runecasters were men. In fact, a description of a runecaster is of a woman, and it said that she wore a blue cloak trimmed with cat fur. She had cat fur mittens and a walking stick with a brass knob on the end. And also, I mean, to me, women are more, they've got more instinct towards these sort of things than men, because of the very nature they have to. They tend to think more widely than men do. I can hear cries of derision on that one. But yeah. Now, brings me to the next thing, is the Oseberg ship. The Oseberg ship is very strange, and it is related to runes. It's in a royal enclosure, but the mound itself, where the ship was found, is quite a distance from the royal family. In it was an elderly lady of about 80 and a woman of about 50, they say was a slave. Recent medical advances have shown that the elderly lady died about 80, and she suffered from an illness where she had a beard. At that time it would have been seen as somewhat singular. Now, whether that was her servant or whether that was her lover, she certainly wasn't related by blood, because the younger woman came from North Africa, around there. If you notice, the Oseberg ship front is carved, and if you look along it, you'll see a female figure with a beard. Now, it may be that she wasn't of royal birth, but she was a priestess, and they kept her near the kings and queens because, well, common sense. And that a servant was killed, servant, lover, I don't know. But her partner who was with her was sacrificed at the same time. To me, it all indicates to the fact that she was a runecaster of some description, or priestess of some kind. Maybe you'd like to comment on that. Be interested to hear what you have to say. I think the problem we get with sort of archaeology and history is we forget how much religion influenced everyday life. It's like you could have the perfect weather, and if the priest or priestess came and said, "No, you're not planting today, gods don't like it," you didn't do it. Whereas if it looked terrible and said, "God say do it," you did it. Now, paganism in this country, sort of as a mainstream religion, went underground quite early on. There were resurgences of it. So what killed it? What killed it more than anything, I think, is literacy. You know, you get St. Paul writing his letters and things like that in the 2nd century, I believe, and then you read what he said in the 9th, 10th century. Read it today. It ain't changed. Words that stand still, and you can have a credo or a system of belief. Now then, we have another comment from Finn. Are the runes just advice, or can there be commands? Yeah, they are. I think I read that one out before. Yeah, they are. more advice. It's up to you whether you take it or not. But as I say, I mean, getting back to what I was saying before, religion, it's a personal thing. Yes, you can officially say, you know, you read in the Anglo-Saxon chronicles, for those of you who do, and they became Christian. That meant that the king was Christian, or the ruler. It doesn't mean to say they were, it means that they just got another god. And the people underneath may well go to church on Sunday, but they will be planting the last corn, making the last stalks of corn into corn dollies. People do that today, and there is a big resurgence or big admittance of paganism. It's not the same because we don't know. Hang on. I prefer to call it neo-paganism because every house, the father was the priest, and they worship the same gods but in a different way. Today, you can say the earliest of the sort of neo-paganism was 1930s, Alexander and his Wicca, which is a mixture of all types of religion. Yeah, such exponent. I mean, you've got the Golden Age, the Golden Dawn, you know, which set a lot of foundations out, and that was while paganism was illegal, technically. Yeah. Witchcraft Act was repealed in 1953, Bragi? Yeah,
well, round about that.
Round about then. In fact, the last witch to be in prison was in 1944. And that was because she kept coming out with words like overlord and mulberry, whether it was real or not, but she was put in prison for a year, from which she never survived. Even today, you've got to be careful what you say and where you go. I mean, you will not see shops advertised as occult shops. Why is that? Well, there used to be an excellent shop in Leeds called Sorcerer's Apprentice, and the Archbishop at that time of York said, do you think it relevant for an archbishopric to have a shop which deals in witchcraft? And within the week it was closed. There were excellent shops. Well, Bragi's smashing the place up.
No, the bloody curtains, mate.
Oops, anyway, he's been curtained. It's curtains for him at the moment. So anyway, you will find craft shops where it encompass all religions, which, to be honest with you, I think is right. There used to be an excellent shop in York, isn't there anymore, Caduceus Books, which I believe is online now, run by Mr. Ben Fernie. Well worth talking to him. He is extremely knowledgeable. And I used to go in there and you'd find nuns, Buddhists, people like me. Met the author of the runic workbook, Tony Willis, I met him in there, and met some very useful contacts. You know, you buy your just sticks and things like that. There's nothing wrong in that. And yeah, if you want to find a shop, go online, I think is your best bet. But as I say, you can buy all the books, all the paraphernalia, but you've got to believe in what you're doing. And I think, you know, it's the same with Christianity, any religion. You know, if you don't believe, what's the point? So, no more comments at the moment. I'm still rattling on now. So what is the state of modern paganism today? Well, very healthy actually. As I say, I'm a member of the Odinic Fellowship. There's the Odinic Rite, which I used to be part of. They're a bit hardcore for me, but you know, those of you who like your Odinism hardcore, I've still got coffee in there, but if you want to heat it up, just passing the coffee there. Woo! But yeah, there's loads, but I would say be careful because there are some right-wing groups who use the Norse as an excuse. Now, let me disabuse these people. There was nobody more cosmopolitan than the Vikings. Trust me. But it's against the taint of Nazism, and we don't want any parts of that, thank you very much. You tend to find that Odinism, people have their own opinions, and they'll keep them to themselves, and they'll say what they want to say. And it's a bit dodgy at times like this, because people get offended. Well, you know, tough. I'm offended by people who are offended. That's neither here nor there. hang on. Celtic God. Thank you, Bragi, for the warm coffee. Yeah, he's just down now in the kitchen. He's left me alone again. He's getting dressed up. Hang on, we've got another one, is it? Nope, it's a hashtag for something else. So, yeah, you see here I've got this rune stick. It needs a lot more carving yet, but it's a bit of fun. You know what I mean? I won't do it on camera because I took to use bad language, and we don't want that. We don't want to be taken off. But as I say, here at the moment, the weather is fine. It's a bit of a double-edged sword. Yes, it's nice, but we've got to walk, and every man jacking his dog are out at the moment, and we're trying to keep that 2 meters apart. Don't take it lightly, people. COVID-19 is a great killer. It's something that I've never had to deal with, and I hope we never have to deal with it again. May the gods hope that we get ourselves an effective vaccine, so that we can look back on this. My own personal feeling is, yes, we'll get through it and everything else, and people will have learned nothing. But I'm just an old cynic, I guess. But please, bear it in mind in what you do. Be safe, because it doesn't care who you are. It doesn't matter what race you are, or what age, whether you're young or old, black or white. It'll get you if it wants you. Things are slackening off in England here. Sympathy goes out to our American friends, but then again, you've got a lot more people in America, so probably you've got a bigger scope for infection. May the gods bless all of you and keep you safe, regardless of religion or whatever. Yeah, we're trying to make this world a better place, and I hope that we can do. Okay, have we got any more? Yes, here we go. Finroth. In Finland, the far-right movement, Soldier of Odin movement, started, which is ironic since Finns do not even worship Odin. We worship gods like Ukko, Atli, and Celtic God, I'm out before I end up making people cry. Farewell. Well, thanks, Celtic God. Your opinion is worth it as much as anyone else. You won't offend me, mate. But anyway, may the gods bless you and keep you safe. Yeah. Finland is very different. It's part of Scandinavia, I know, but like you say, they have different gods. And again, not wrong in that. There's, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a strong shamanistic element in Finn society. Well, certainly in the past. I'd be interested, Finn, if you could give us some more information on this, that we could let other people know, because this is the point, you know, the more you know, the better judgment you can make. Celtic God signed off. I think, yeah, as I said to him, yeah, his opinion's worth as much as anyone else. Okay, Bragi's bringing in the coffee. Oh, hang on, I've got to reach on that. I don't know. I bet you...
It's good exercise. It's hot.
Cheers. Yeah, I found that one out. I bet Brad Pitt gets his handed on a silver tray. But,
What, his runes?
No, it's coffee.
Ah.
Okay. So, Bragi just closing the window. But yeah, I'm sure Bragi feels the same way, in that we'd like to know more about the Finnish pagan religions.
Well, we do, yeah.
But, yeah, so...
Any good books on the subject?
Well, again, do you have any books? I'm sure there are books on it. And we'd be interested to hear. And
Is that books or books?
Books.
You know how to say it up north, don't you?
Oh,
Books.
Oh, yeah, well, I'd like to introduce this. I'm actually born down south. I was born in the Perrier Belt in Rochester, Kent, a very posh nursing home. Why I mix with these people, I don't know, these Midlanders. But to be honest with you, we do get variations in accent. Yeah.
How did you get into runes, Egil? Talk about that.
Very odd, really. I was into history, archaeology, when I worked in a factory, and there was a book club, and my mum asked me, what do you want for your birthday? And I looked and I saw a book on runes, and I thought it was just how to interpret them as to reading what it said. And I said, I'll have those, please. And I got Ralph Bloom's Book of Runes, and what an eye-opener it was. And then I saw and it's a book that changed my life, which was Tony Willis's Rune workbook. And I can honestly say it's a book that changed my life. I followed the course and I went to York as a student in 1987, and as I mentioned, produced his books. I was talking to Ben about the Runic workbooks. Oh, Tony's down there. And I met Tony Willis, and shall we say my life changed quite considerably. I hadn't seen Tony for a long time. Hi, if you're watching. Always parted, and but I did a course on runes, which I am eternally grateful for, and I learned a lot. I've just got a reply from Finroth. I cannot give information right now. I did buy books on Finnish paganism, but have not got around to reading it yet. I know where you're coming from. There are books, but I'm not sure have they been translated into English. I think most people who are into books will say, I've got loads of books, but I haven't read them yet. I've got books I bought when I was 15 I've not read yet.
Guilty.
And Bragi's the same. It's called having a library and passing times. I also find that I've had books that I've read 3 or 4 times. My favourite book, fiction book, is Confederacy of Dunces by J. Kennedy Toole. And I love it. I've read it 3 or 4 times and it's hilarious. But books on the occult, they vary. As I'm sure those of you out there who are of the faith, some are appalling. They really are. And some are fantastic. It's what appeals to you. There are a lot of books on runes. They're pretty much, a lot of them are pretty much the same book with a different title. There are a lot of translations from books now. I know that Egil Thorsson, he translated quite a few books. There are a lot of books out there that need translating, so those of you who can, please translate them. I'm going to have a drink of coffee. It's all right talking, drains, it gets dry enough to non-stop talking. So, you know, I mean, the state of things today, I think people need something to believe in. It doesn't matter what, really, in that you've got to believe in something more powerful than yourself. A yardstick to measure yourself by. And it doesn't matter what religion you are, as long as you've got one. And this is where I think, you know, you may agree or disagree, we have a scant few role models today, and due to, I don't know, time or thought, church, religions themselves have sort of taken second place, and younger generation, I'm sounding ancient here, are looking for something to measure themselves, and it's pop stars, you know, whether you're rappers or, you know, rock and rollers or whatever. And I do feel that in years to come, archaeologists will think that we worshipped a god called Elvis. Some people do, I don't know, but, you know, or Beyonce or people like that. And it's because people want direction. They need, at a certain age, they need something as a moral compass. And this is why you get this. And I don't know, you know, you can't force religion on people, that's the thing. Those that do, as you can see in the world, it doesn't work. But hey, fortunately that's not my problem. And Bragi's coming back in again. Oh no, he's going out again. He's fiddling with something.
It's called a battery charger, Egil.
Oh, he's doing it. He's charging a battery with what, I don't know.
A battery charger?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was using it as a pun. Charge. Grievous bodily
Kind
harm.
of.
Yeah. Anyway, so have we got any more comments? Yeah. Another one from Finn. I had books and audio books on Norse beliefs and Vikings for years, and only started reading them about 6 months ago. Yeah, I know where you're coming from. I mean, I've been reading books and some of the Viking names and things like that. The one I was reading was, it's an elder, quite getting on now, Northern Religion, written by Terval Petrie. And it's wandering more than I am today, in that, you know, they try and trace the gods way back and they want names, and in the end you think, well, it was a challenge to finish it. I had read it before, but it had some useful bits in it as well. But audiobooks, yeah, I think that's a pretty good way to go, you know. I remember I've had on the old cassettes, you know, I used to sometimes get library books. I remember one was William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy reading science fiction. I'm not a science fiction buff, but found them very interesting.
You might need to explain what cassettes are to some people.
Oh yeah, you've probably heard the voice off camera there, the silent majority, telling me, well, it's magnetic tape formed into a cassette, which recorded and played various stories. And then it came the CD, which I believe now is old hat. I mean, can't see what was wrong with these cassettes. They're all right until the tape got ravelled up and you had to pencil and spent hours reeling it back. It's a self-contained unit. I was going to say it's like the video cassette, but a lot of you probably don't know what they are.
You can explain that now.
They're similar to the audio cassette, only it's got tape that shows pictures and you can record programs. Again, CDs took over, now it's some computer nonsense.
DVDs?
DVDs, yeah, they're good. I've got a lot of them.
Egil's Guide to Tech.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, all that came from audio books. So thanks, Finn. I wish Celtic God had come back. I don't want to think we've upset him, but...
Well, what you said to him?
Oh, I don't know. I've been talking and saying a lot. We're talking about the runes and fascism.
Ah.
But anyway, each to their own. So, anyway, moving along. So, the State of Modern Paganism today, there are several magazines, and I believe, was it Celtic God who's got a music
I think he's working on a magazine thing.
Well, if you're watching, listening...
Why don't you write him an article?
Thanks for that. I'll just put my gentleman vegetables on a block and you can whack them with a hammer. Yeah, all right, I can do that. A basic article.
Didn't know you grew carrots.
Yeah, well, there you go. But I wish him all the best with his magazine. And yeah, if you'd like to send us a brief copy or whatever, I'm sure we can have a look at it. And if you want stuff written, I can write your stuff. So can Bragi.
Oh, yeah.
On all sorts of things.
I'll just type up your notes.
Yeah, why not? But that's something as well I've wanted to talk to you about, is the history of archaeology. I did a whole course of it at York.
Yes, well, you got to try to schedule it into video format and work out how many videos you want for that little series and mini-series.
Have you noticed, we keep hearing his voice, but we don't see the dude, as far as we could say.
But it's Egil Friday.
It could be a recording for all we know. But
this is the robot me, the other one's busy working.
This is why he's got a leather bikini on. This is why he's not on camera. It's just a little fetish.
Well, it's 84 degrees outside.
It's not that far off in here, mate. I'll tell you, my skin's leaking. So, any more commentios, please? I suppose people are still coming in from work, aren't they, and getting the dinner.
Depends where they are in the world. We can always start talking about weapons.
We can always start talking about weapons, yes.
On that bit of paper are the missing runes from the Northumbrian runes you didn't know the name of.
Yeah, I've also got to show you, you've got to go through this, you've got repeats.
No, you don't, one's upside down.
Okay, well, fair enough. Okay, weapons. This is a sword. This is a scrum sack. We'll go into more detail on those in a bit, because I'm on my soapbox here talking about paganism. There are also, I mean, there are a lot of organisations, and can I just say to the Christians, we're not here against you, we're working with you. And, you know, you do your thing, we do ours. We're not here to condemn you, we're not here to be unpleasant to you or anything else. I've probably been in more churches than the average Christian. When I was a student, I actually did the churches and the use of spaces. And there's some amazing churches around York. In fact, we've got one near here, haven't we, Bragi?
We do indeed.
It's the Norman Arch with ravens all around there. But, you know, I've been in the York Minster a lot. There's a pal of mine's wife works there. Hi, Helen. If you're watching, you're probably not. But, yeah. And it doesn't matter what religion you are. If there's a church nearby, go and have a look. I also went to Derby Cathedral, where Jethro Tull, my favourite band, were playing. If you're watching Ian Anderson, your baby. I thoroughly enjoy their music, again, because it's not most pop songs are like nursery rhymes about love and sex and blah, blah. This has got a bit more depth to it. So, you know, that's what I say. Finn says, did you used to be a Christian? I come from a very interesting background. Yes, I was brought up a Christian, and my Christian name is Simon Peter. My ancestor, Sir Walter Branscombe, which is on my mother's side, was Archbishop of Exeter. He's buried in Exeter Cathedral next to the altar. He was sheriff twice in Exeter. He was a diplomat for Edward III. Also, I come from a long line of bishops and archbishops. That said, I have to admit that when I was at school, I was a great believer in Christianity. I don't denigrate Christians at all. Some of the stuff they say makes sense. But I can remember my cousin was getting married. He was a Catholic and had this full mass. And there's a phrase where we're not worthy to eat the crumbs on your table. And I was 8 and I very nearly stood up and said, I should be at the head of the table. I've always had a big ego. But yeah, I mean, some of my friends are very strong Christian, and they are beautiful people. One, as I say, is sort of high Anglican. Another one is Russian Orthodox. Doesn't matter to me. They don't condemn me, I don't condemn them. We can hack pieces out of each other and we don't get anywhere. Hey, Uppy's got dressed up. He's looking suitably Norse, even down to his Pirelli slippers. You're going to sweat if you put that on, pal.
Oh no, I'll have to wear a plain tunic on its own.
Oh, well, he's putting a cloak
No,
on.
I'm using it as an outer tunic.
Okay, well that's up to him. But yeah, and as I say, you should never denigrate anyone's religion. It's what you feel best at. He's putting his pixie hat on now.
I'm going to make you one day. Make you wear it all the time.
Oh yeah, great. That's my mate, by the way. Forcing me into the...
You get a free hat.
Yeah. Well, get a mate and have a free hat. Anyway, so yes, the short answer is yes, I used to believe in Christianity. I am a strange mix. My great-grandmother was a Russian Jew. Came over and landed in Paddington of all places. My mother's family were Catholic. My father was Church of England. My grandpa was a Freemason, and the Catholics won't wear having Freemasons. So Granny said, if you're not having him, you're not having any of us, and took us out of the church. So according to the religious, I'm a lapsed Jew, I'm a lapsed Catholic. I was brought up Church of England and christened Church of England. That doesn't matter. It matters is that I have a power stronger than us and that I am willing to learn from it. So yeah, you know, horses for courses. Another sip of coffee. I say Bragi's looking suitably Norse. He's wandering around now. But I'd like to know your opinions. As I say, I've never caused anybody any hurt, and they've never caused me any hurt. But, I suppose, you know, I mean, most rabid Christians I've found, and most rabid Wiccans, I mean, you usually find that the rabid people here in our pagan religion usually have got a father or grandfather who's a lay preacher or whatever. And the thing I find sad, above all else, I'm not trying to be patronising, not atheists. You see certain people whose names I won't mention because I don't want to get in any grief. They are as rabid anti-Christians and will go to great detail about how stupid you are for believing in this. Well, I'm sorry, that's none of your business, you know. If you want to believe in nothing, fine. You know, you're going to have egg on your faces, I know that, but, you know, don't denigrate people because they believe in something else. Religion is a wonderful, beautiful thing. And who are you, you know, to say no? And if that's what you want to believe, fine. But don't have a go at other people for it. Any more people who'd like to leave comments? Bragi's getting all glammed up with his bling. I don't know what he's got planned, but...
Well, I'll come and join in a minute if you like.
Yeah, can do if you
I
like.
could Sure, I could think of a few things rune-wise to talk about
Well,
for
hang
you.
on. We've got a bit more. Hello, Finn. How do you guys come up with the names Egil and Bragi? Is that the names you use all the time, or just in your channel? I can only speak for me at the moment. I read the Sagas, and Egil Skallagrimsson was a hero of mine, still is. And I joined a re-enactment group, Regular Anglorum, and you had to have a Viking name. Well, Egil, I was told, translates as terror. Well, I have several names. I've got Simon Peter, which I use. I don't really bother who uses my name. I'm Rune Egil in magic places. I'm Egil Thorsson in this, which I use here. Some people even call me Snuffy, because I take snuff occasionally.
Snuffy.
And I really don't mind. I mean, you know, as long as it's not derogatory, you can call me Egil, call me most people call me Simon, and I don't object to that. That's what most people know me as. I have the pagan name, as I say, Egil Thorsson. Rune Egil Thorsson is my magic name. I have a spiritual name which I won't divulge to anyone, and for those of you who have the spiritual name, you don't divulge that.
Move that way a bit then.
No, I've just had instructions to move that way a bit, so that way a bit I am.
Left.
You want to go that way?
No, sit down.
I'm an egg. Comes in here with his slippers and brooms, passing a man from his coffee. And anyway, that's how I got my name. And Egg has been a good name for me. You know, I used to go around schools, and I earned quite a bit of money doing that. And I've just been hit by a Runecasting thing. Okay.
That's yours, that is now.
Oh, thank you.
Take it home with you.
Yeah, I'll put it down here. You can put the runes down there as well.
Oh, wait a minute. We need to adjust the camera because you're not on camera no more.
And you can pass me coffee over as well.
Sure.
So that's how I got my name. And now, hang on.
We'll come a bit closer.
Whoa, don't sit down. Okay, you can sit down now. Whoa.
One day we'll get somebody to do this all for us, adjust the camera.
What a gopher.
We're calling Gordon.
Yeah, we're almost matching then, Tunics.
Well, not far off.
Hmm.
Thought I'd join you for a little bit of this.
Yeah, how did you get your name?
I chose the first bit Bragi because I always liked the term name Bragi, and because I used to write a bit of poetry in the old days. Still do now and again, but the old Viking inspired poetry. So Bragi, of course, being the Viking god of poetry, and then Tyrkir Thorkolson suggested I use the name Magnar because there used to be a Magnarsson in the group, but he wasn't around no more. And they said we could do with a Magnar, we're missing one. So I said,
What is that?
I don't know. We have to.
Well, Tyrkir, if you're watching, perhaps you can tell us.
Probably busy working, but let's have a look. See if we've got any more comments. I think is Celtic Bob come back? God, no, I don't think he is.
I think he's.
Probably busy working. It'd be that time of the day. But you got coffee on the screen. Watch out for that. There you go.
Can't do anything right here.
My dad says that now, Ian.
Well,
We can't do anything right.
all right, Cyril.
His real name's Magna. Don't give his real name away. Magna, we call him.
I hardly think the hordes of fans are going to be breaking the door down.
Well, no. So have you told the origin story of the rooms on camera?
What, Odin on the tree?
Well, yes, there's a good time for you to tell it. Excellent idea, Egil.
And the ball comes back to me. Okay, there is a translation called Hamaval, which are rules on how a Viking should conduct themselves, a book of etiquette, if you will.
Yes.
In it is the origins of the runes. I know that I hung up on that windy tree 9 days and 9 nights. None gave me food, none gave me drink, an offering of myself to myself. Pierced by my own weapon, I saw the runes scream and I seized them. None gave me, I went from a word to a word, from a deed to a deed. It's paraphrasing, don't quote me on the exact because there's various translations. So apparently, Odin was on the Yggdrasil, the world tree, holds the world up, and saw the runes. But what it does tell us is self-initiation, which you can do it that way by impaling yourself. I didn't. I did it another way, which I'm not going to go into, but it was not painful physically. But the runes apparently, as I say, Odin found them. Where they come from before that, I'm assuming comes from the earth and the energy from that. He's master of the runes, and we also know that he got knowledge by putting he didn't lose it. He put his eye in the Ymir as well, the base of the Yggdrasil. He also gained knowledge from Ymir, Ymir's head.
Oh, the giant.
Yeah. No, he sent an emissary when the War of the Azir and the Vanya was on. This guy got up their nose, so they sent him back, minus his body. Well, Odin, by use of magic, runes, herbs, and was able to get the head to talk to him and advises him. Now, another interesting thing is, when Himmler was at Wiebelsberg Castle, found what he thought was the excellent Nordic person, chopped his head off, and guess what? The head wouldn't talk to him.
Oh, right.
But there you go. So,
in a way, it's a bit like gaining knowledge from an ancient computer. When you think about the head,
oh yeah.
it's a computer in a way, you know, a biological computer. You know, amazing thing, isn't it, the brain?
Well, I mean, you know, yeah, it makes a good story. You see, the trouble I've got with all the sagas is that they have been got at.
Well, of course so.
And it's the typical one, you know, people say Ragnarok. Ragnarok never took place and never will. All you've got to do is look at the ancient, the saga. Oh, we've just dropped a rune. It's on the floor.
I don't know. Can't take you anywhere, Egil.
Well, you keep giving the stuff to sit with. Anyway, Thor going fishing for the world serpent, in the edition that most popularly known, is he catches the world serpent with a chain on a bull's head, and just pulling that hard, his feet go through the boat. Giant gets windy, drops the chain, Jormungand escapes to kill Thor at Ragnarok. That's all very clear. However, in an earlier version, he does the same thing but catches the world serpent and kills it. Ergo, if he's killed it already, it can't kill him at Ragnarok, can it?
Well, no, but I think there's only one evidence of that I can find.
But you know, buts, mate. I know. I've had a word with the man himself. He ain't happening. And also, it's a good way. If you think, who wrote it? Snorri Sturluson. What was he? Bishop.
So that would also indicate that the challenge of Thor and the Hrungnir will have to take place before that episode. Well, he can't lift up the wolf serpent in that challenge.
Well, also,
the one with the glove.
As I was saying, if you sit and think about it, what better way of converting somebody from paganism to Christianity by saying, yeah, you worship your God. They're all going to die. I mean, does it make sense to you to follow a religion where all your gods are going to die? And then all of a sudden, the golden one suddenly comes back from the dead. Does it sound like a certain JC coming back from the dead?
Well, to a degree, yes. There's definitely a similarity there between the two.
And if you read Revelation, doesn't it bear startling resemblance to it? And also the subtle differences through the sagas, where the gods are mentioned. There's just a little, it just takes you along.
So there you are. You're living in 11th, 12th century Iceland, and not all the people are Christian yet.
No.
Would you not try to Christianise the Viking stories to use those stories as an influence to make people, convert to Christianity?
I mean, I did a big thing at university on Bede, History Ecclesiastica. Not a bad read. History of the French is better, but there you go. Anyway, you think, oh, he wrote this. Who's it for? The average peasant in the hovel can't read, can't write, has no interest therein. Not all monks could read or write. Not all kings could read or write. Charlemagne could read, but he couldn't write. Two skills are separate. So who's it for? It's for educated monks, people who can read and write, and to influence people. It's a power thing. It's like computers today. Not everybody is good on computers. Some are.
Well,
and it's just the way. That's the way life is. So we've got more comments.
Do you fancy taking a video back home with you and editing it, Egil?
Yeah, I can do.
You might struggle.
Okay, what else we got?
I've got a comment here. This is from Finn Rafe.
Hi, Finn.
Is it not at least possible in history the runes come from other letters used by other humans before? What Odin did was give the runes their power.
Yeah, that's a fair comment. We have the earliest of the Halstringer rock carvings in Denmark, I believe, and they are sort of Iron Age, Bronze Age. I said earlier that if you look at Greek letters and the Elder Futhark, you will see there are similarities. certainly if you look at Etruscan script, I actually have a chart at home actually with them on. I didn't know we were going to be doing this, but there are variations on that, and I think, you know, like you say, giving them potency and power. There's a school of thought that actually Odin actually existed as a chieftain. I think they said he was Turkish. Don't matter, you know, the guy is head of the gods as far as I'm concerned. I've spoken to said person, or God, and yeah, I think what you said, Finn, is right. You know, to me, he sort of, I won't say give him legitimacy, but certainly gives him power. He's a god of all sorts of things, god of 150 names, to say a few.
Well, yes, there's a video idea on its own, the names of Odin, for you to think about in the future.
I sometimes wonder, when you see the names of other gods, whether it's the same god, Odin. I don't know, you know.
Now we've got another comment from Finn Rafe, and he says, I've got a comment here first of all from say Giarmi, of course, he says, and then Finn Rafe comes back with another comment and saying, is it not possible that there is something similar with Norse beliefs and Christianity? Is it not possible it could also be the other way?
I'm not disputing that. I mean, no doubt doctors of theology will tell you, you know, but there are parallels, yes. And the Norse interpretations, I mean, the classic one is Daniel in the lion's den. But if you're an average Viking, you wouldn't have the slightest idea what a lion is, you know, but you would know what a snake is and a serpent. So the idea of a guy in a pit of snakes, that makes sense to you. Whereas a lion, you might as well say, oh, you know, food mixer, don't know.
Well, yes, but what would a pagan Viking, make of Christian stories?
Depends on your Viking, doesn't it? It's like today, some pagans are still very anti-Christian, some Christians are very anti-pagan. Some people, like myself, you know, if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. It depends on the individual. The church officially started out looking on pagans as erring children, but the interesting thing to note is that in early Christianity, I mean, the big debate was between Celtic Catholicism and Roman Catholicism. The Celtic ones had a pate shaved at the front, whereas at the back, and there was a great deal of anguish, simony as well, another heresy. And you know, you see it all through Christianity. They're more concerned about, you know, well, I mean, you saw the big kerfuffle, Church of England and Catholic. You know. And
so we've got 3 more comments. Let's just catch up. From Sajami.
Hi.
I was pronouncing your name right. Just as Vidar discovered the tablets of runes. And then Karen Rose Miller's here, so hello Karen. Okay. And she said a den of wolves. And then another comment straight after that, she says Daniel in the wolves' den. So,
well, there you go.
Welcome to the live stream.
Yeah.
Now, just before we continue, one of the things you'd always say in a live stream, Egil, is to encourage folk and people watching to share the live stream so we get more people watching. And don't forget that after the live stream ends, it will be published when it's rendered the video in at YouTube's end. They will publish it. So
what he said.
Watch out for that. And there's a little bit of a bonus information. I'm planning a bonus video for tomorrow, and the video is on the Banshee. Then we talk about, it's one of those videos where we talk about random things. Then we talk about Irish history.
Not Susie in the Banshee.
No, you did. You probably mentioned that, I think, to be fair to you. And then we talk about, if I'm correct in saying, what do we talk about then? I forget now.
No idea.
The Gurkhas.
Ah, good old
So,
Gurkhas.
and we talk about BC medals, and I tell a story about a man called Godfrey Mennel. So that's going to be out tomorrow. Then if I do get a chance to edit a historical video, we've got a few ready to go, or to be published, I should say. I'll try to do one of them tomorrow or tonight.
Of course, with Godfrey of the past, wear a hat.
Well, yes, that's another story to tell in the future. So, is there any more subjects about the runes? I guess one thing you probably not talked about is the recent use in even recent times in Finland. They were still using a runic calendar, weren't they, Egil?
Yeah.
You know a little bit about that, I do believe.
Do I?
Yes, well, I do believe so.
Thanks for landing me right in it up to my neck. I have to be honest.
Well, you covered the subject before in a video.
Have I?
Yeah.
Oh well, check the library.
Right there.
Still on the thing of paganism, Iceland has an official pagan priest.
Yes, and they're building a new temple to Thor, probably built by now.
Well, there's actually a pagan temple in Newark by the Odinic Fellowship. They're always looking for funds so they can build another one. So anyway, you know, there you go for people in England.
Right, I'll just go back to some of your comments in a minute. Well, I can't do that for us today. I'll just have a look at that, Egil. So there you go.
There are also rune staves, yeah.
So, rune staves are very interesting because we often forget the fact that they would leave messages on rune staves. It's a long bit of flat wood normally, but sometimes you get them in different designs. If you look on the internet, you can find some research papers that demonstrate and talk about it. And there's a few websites about rune staves. And I made one for Egil earlier, which is basically his rune stave for basically saying belongs to Egil. And as a trader, if you're coming back on a long ship and you've got a load of goods, you'd have staves in the bags of goods or the barrels of goods.
Yeah, they look like tent pegs.
Yes, some of them do, but there are a few variations. So,
right, okay, well that's as clear as mud. What I can say is that they have found seemingly rune stocks in marshland and things like that. And what they are spells or curses that have been hidden because they're apparently more powerful if they're hidden. And you know, in archaeology, say, oh, this is gibberish. No, it's not. It's just that you don't understand magic, for want of a better word. Because it always amazes me, you know, if you go to ancient Rome,
yes,
there's loads of curses and they're wrapped up in
yes,
lead.
I was about to mention.
And, you know, they're quite happy about that. But you find a rune curse, oh, it's all rubbish. Oh, yeah, come on.
Just go to Adrian's Wall and Vindolanda. Is it not Vindolanda? The Roman fort where they found a load of lead tablets. Some were like shopping orders, some were just jokes and various things.
They also found wood strips, which are beautiful.
So I've got a comment here. Can I just put in? So Karen Rolls just want to say hi, Bragi and Egil. So hello, Karen.
Hello.
So it's always nice to see you here. So
is that it?
No, we'll keep going. No more new comments. If you do have any questions about the runes or anything you've ever thought about the runes and you always wanted to know the answer to it, well, perhaps we might be able to help. Help with that answer. So
bank on it, but we are. No,
well,
you will try. We'll try our best.
That's all you can do in life, you know.
In fact, I'm sure there are people out there who are experts.
Well,
who would like to inform us.
Now here's a question for you, Egil. Can you do a degree in rune study?
Well, there are certain groups which are better informed than others. I don't know about runic studies, but yeah, I assume that there might be. The trouble is, you're dealing with belief rather than fact. You know, the trouble is now at university, if you look at archaeology and history, they want facts, Cartesian truths, and you're dealing with belief. And whilst you have theology, we do a degree in theology. I haven't as yet known anybody doing a degree in paganism because it's not written down.
I think you can do North studies, so perhaps runes will be in those North studies.
I did a 4-year course on called Nortrad, which I don't. It is running now, but it's a lot more expensive than when I did it. And as I say, that gets you to what's called a Vitki, which is first stages of Viking priest.
So we have a comment here from Mr. Jarmy, and they say, ask Jackson Crawford of the University of Boulder, Colorado. And he's the American cowboy that talks about the Norse.
Yeah,
you've seen one or two of his videos with me.
Well, I mean, if anybody should know, I guess he would.
And then we have another comment above that from Finn Wraith.
Hi, Finn.
And they say, oh, I almost wonder if there should be another word to call magic, now since a lot of people will not take magic seriously. Since here going to assume it like Hollywood magic.
The trouble is, illusion is called magic, you know. All these guys who go on stage with extra suntans and polo necks going, hey! It's not magic, it's illusion, it's trickery.
Some of it's very good though.
Oh, I'm not denigrating.
And then you see these videos where they compare to some of these magicians saying, oh, they sold their soul to the devil to get magical skills. And I mean, how do you explain that, dynamo when he walked down the side of a building? How can you explain it? Well, I think the one when he walked on water in the Thames was probably more explainable. But sometimes you see these magicians do things and you think to yourself, well, how did they actually do that?
It's trickery, it's illusion. And they will say that magic is so completely different. These are manipulation of subtleties.
So we have a new watcher on the channel. We'll be watching a few for a while, and that is Brandon K.
Hi, Brandon.
And in a comment here, Brandon says, I recently finished writing simple notes on the older Futhark for each room. I'm curious, though, do you both have preferred Futharks to work with? Younger, older, short trig, Anglo?
Well, I always work with the elder Futhark because that's the one I was trained in, from where I've had contact with. I know some people do use elder Futharks, some people use symbols rather than runes, but I can only speak for me. I always use the elder and will stick with it.
Yes, did you ever see the series Last Kingdom when they had the soothsayer? I think it's Gianni, or I can't remember the name of him, Stormer, something like that. And he had like a bag of bones with all kind of things in it.
Some people do.
You know.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's whatever lights your candle. I mean, I knew a girl, she had a bag of stones, nothing on them, but she would cast them and she could forecast.
Oh, yes.
You know, and I mean, even shapes.
Yeah.
I mean, people would look at birds, how they fly. That's where all this sort of starts from. The Romans, you know, the entrails.
Could you do it with your tea leaves?
People say that. I mean, I used to have a book on it. And there's cartomancy where you use carters. There's all sorts.
Did have a job, I used a tea bag.
Yeah, well, there's even a way of foretelling by looking at people's bottoms. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know.
Have you studied that?
No.
Right. That's a funny one, that, isn't it? How do you do that, though?
I didn't want to be the butt of people's humour.
Yes. Well,
boom.
And of course, the hand, you can't forget palm reading.
Very interesting, that, because when I worked in a factory, there was a guy whose grandfather, I think, was a Romany gypsy. And he looked at my hand and he says, you're going to live a long time, but there's going to be an illness that you'll get over. And he was right, I'm diabetic. You know, type 2 diabetes. So, I mean, that's not bad, is it?
I've got a book on that. And of course, don't forget the I Ching. If you go even Eastern,
it's pronounced I Ching.
I Ching.
I Ching. It's like everything else. I mean, there are fashions in it. I Ching was very popular when I was a student. Then it was sort of, people went back to tarot. I mean, I don't do tarot. They're fine. They give me a headache.
So we have another comment here. Karen Wells Miller. I use them with great success. The runes, Jera, will speed things up fantastically.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's, you know, runes can fit people like a nice glove. I mean, I found that I had no problems finding a tradition. To me, it's always been Viking. I used to go and do the Green Circle meetings, and this poor woman, she reminded me of Dina in Absolutely Fab. Every week it was a different religion she followed. And some people find it very difficult to find a faith, whereas others, like me, I was lucky. It's always been Vikings for me. I'll be honest, I was 8 years old when I first was into it.
We have a comment from Sir Jarmy, and they say take Jarmy or Jarmy. They say weird, as in W-Y-R-D. It's a very old thing, and something we can talk about in the future perhaps. And then Karen Rolls Miller says, I made my runes from shed tree bark of my maple tree. That's a cool idea.
Yeah.
And then we have a comment here from Roman Biscotti, and they says, hello, Boop, hugs dear Bragi and Egil, and you know her as Tangi.
Hi, Tangi.
So cheer Egil up. Nice to see you here.
Yeah.
How's life with you and your family? Hope you're keeping safe.
Stay groovy, baby.
And Roman Biscotti says, hello all.
Hi.
And he puts a unicorn, and I'm not sure what that emoji is. A ghost. I can't see the emoji. It's very small on here. You don't understand emojis, do you?
Well, no.
You know.
But they're nice, pretty pictures. I got an emoji today on my phone of a heart. I don't know what that means.
That means love.
Oh, right.
But there's different ones. There's loads of them. Thousands, probably.
Right.
Now, I was just thinking there while I was watching this video, do you think ever one day, or is there such a thing as runic subtitles?
Yeah, why not?
Because let's face it, if you read the runic script and that's your natural language to a degree, you know.
It's an interesting
That's
thing
interesting,
with runes. I can write runes faster and neater than I can ordinary writing. But reading it takes me a long time. Isn't that odd?
Yeah.
Yeah, so reading and writing are two different things, but I just find that reading, even stuff I've written, I have to, you know, you got your finger and going like that.
Now, just going off slightly off subject when it comes to reading, when you read something, do you sub-vocalise?
What do you mean?
So when you read a book, do you hear the words in your head?
I sometimes hear in the author's voice. I mean, at the moment, I'm reading Martin Carver's book on Salt.
Yes, you are indeed.
And I can hear him speaking.
Right.
Um,
So apparently we shouldn't do that.
No.
It's very difficult to get away from sub-vocalising. Apparently what we should be doing is just looking and reading the words without reading it in your head, and then it'll speed up your reading.
well, I have a problem in that I'm slightly dyslexic, and this is why I find texting so hard.
Now, some years ago I read a very interesting document online about a woman in Russia, and in a minute she could read on average about 180,000 words.
Oh yeah, I mean the speed reading.
So that's quite amazing.
What I was told as a friend of mine, when I did the OU to start off with, I used to read even where the damn thing was printed. She'd read down the middle, speed reading, and get A's. I mean, she was damn sight cleverer than I was. But yeah, I find sometimes I think I'm slightly dyslexic. It's like when you texting. Also, I've got fat fingers. I hate my phone. You know,
Is it a touchscreen phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, what you need is a stylus.
no, what I need is a damn full phone that works properly, not some, because it's made for people. If you think Asians have got a lot thinner fingers, haven't they?
Well, yes, I think they do.
Whereas I've got big fat sausagey piggy fingers.
Yeah.
So you know, slim those fingers.
So we've now got 12, 13 people watching. Do you want to recap what you did earlier on the channel and go through that little board again of what are the runes and where
I've
do
got
they
to go
come
through
from?
all that again.
Well, yes, because I think it will be very good. No, we'll sit down for it and I'll adjust this.
My buttocks are
Right,
squealing.
I've got to adjust the camera, folks. Hang
You
on.
see, he never thinks about this. We have the Skinny Bottom Club. Yeah, I mean, my pelvis was coming through.
I don't know. I thought it was a bit of a badonkadonk.
I don't know what that means, but it's probably a generational thing. So anyway,
Hang
ladies
on.
and gentlemen,
Oh,
you can hear me, even if you can't see me. What I would like to say now is we're going to recap the Elder Futhark. So pencils and papers ready, and
I'll stay out of this for you.
oh yeah, that's it. Leave me to it. Anyway, the Elder Futhark. As I said earlier, and I apologise to those of you who have been watching earlier, we are recapping. Futhark, what does it mean? It means what we today would call an alphabet. Why is it called that? Because, and all the inscriptions we found so far is Futhark. Futhark. The Elder Futhark, because that's the elder alphabet that we know of. We've got the younger Futhark, we've got the Northumbrian Futhark of 33 characters. Traditionally, they have 24. Later on, in the 1930s, I think it was Israel Regard, I stand corrected if I'm wrong, created Weird, the blank rune. Very useful. Not everybody uses it. So we'll start from the beginning. Fi. Here's a clue. Each rune, the first letter of its name is what it represents. So Fi, here we are, F. Wealth in Viking times, in past times, was represented by how many cattle you had. And so here's the buyer, and here's the cow horn sticking out. Represents wealth. It means gaining wealth. If it's reversed, i.e. the other way round, then we're talking loss of wealth. You know, you gain some, lose some. This represents the oryx, which is a massive, fierce bull. Imagine the bulls in Spain, about twice the size and even worse tempered than those. You've got an oryx, and the Saxon youth had to kill an oryx to prove their manhood, but hence they're now extinct. I think the last one was killed in the 17th century. So it's a coming of age, and you can reverse it, and if it's reversed, it's sort of like a lack of innocence, you know. It's don't trust everything you've been told, someone's trying to mislead you. This one, thorn, saying, as the name would imply, here we have TH, thorn. If you hold a rose, you want to sniff it, hold it between the thorns. If you don't, you get jabbed. So it's handle a situation carefully. And pretty much the same the other way around. Answer, this is a man with his mouth open, and it's saying, it's giving you advice. I'm sorry, I've been on this a long time, I'm getting a bit tired. So basically, it's a verbal message, not a text from today. Be a telephone message, it'll be someone on a one-to-one. Can represent legality. Now, if it's reversed, i.e. back to front, it means someone's trying to mislead you. A plumber's trying to overcharge you, or a lawyer's trying to overcharge you. So be aware of that. Rad. This is a journey that you want to make. Now, this fascinates me because this is actually a representation of a pin that holds the wheel on. Now, if it's that way around, it's a journey you want to make, a holiday or whatever, a trip to your favourite girl or boyfriend. If it's reversed, it's one you've got to go on, maybe dentist, lawyers or something, or bank or something like that. Something you don't want but you've got to do. And of course, as it says there, the letter R. This, Ken, letter K and letter C. What we have is a torch with flames or smoke coming off it. That was the way you used to illuminate things, you know, see it in the films. And it's illuminating a situation, making you understand things a bit better. It's the other way around, issues are getting clouded, things like that. This should not be a Q. Q wasn't around until the 18th century, it's the letter G. You probably recognise this where if you're sending a text or writing a letter or card to your loved one, you put kisses on the bottom. And this is what that represents, and also a gift. And it's one that hangs over from today. And it's the letter G, Gefu. So remember, Q didn't come into existence until about the 18th century. Next we have Win, the rune of joy. And if you notice, if you put that with that, you have what's called the key row. Now the Christians will tell you it's the first two letters of the word Christ. May well be. But also, it's about what's called a bind rune. What you've got is love, love and happiness, and you're holding it with ice. That one there. So, you know, you see that almost a Catholic symbol. Next, we go to Hagar. Bragi's dropping stuff on the floor back there. Hagar is two roads with a third road, a change of direction.
It's a pen there.
Oh, thank you.
You can fit it in.
All right, yeah, okay. There you go. So, I'll put the cap back on because we don't want to dry it out. We've got Hagar, which is change. Hagar means hail. Very useful. Need. This I find very odd. How did it represents a nerve? It means constraint. And how did they know what a nerve looked like? Some of you out there may well be able to tell me. But it means constraint. And you could turn it the other way up, which means keep your own counsel. Again, a form of constraint. Here we have Isa. Ice holds and freezes. People could say, oh, well, that's not very nice. No. Gives you time to think. Gives you time to do positive action. Yara, again here, I can't reverse that one either. That's a harvest. And what it basically says, the more effort you put into something, the better it is. Now, if you've got a field and you leave it with weeds and don't plough it properly, you're not going to get a good crop. You plough it, aerate it, manure it, you're going to get a better crop. So the more effort you put into something, the better it is. Now, I have no idea whether that's IE, but that's Europe, and it represents a bow. I'll pull it back, and it means that the situation may be different, but will snap back. Whether it starts off advantageous or not. The analogy I got was, imagine trying to get into your house through the window instead of through the door. Take the time, hold it free, think, you may be able to find the answer. I said vulnerability, it's protection. You're protecting yourself and those around you. When it's the other way around, it's vulnerability. So, good job we went back over that, wasn't it? See, I am human after all. Sieg, this is the rune, this is the power from the gods, you know, saying, yeah, it's okay. It was used in fascist times, you know, as Hitler used SS and all that. Well, it's up to you, but basically it's power, strength. Which brings us to Tew. Tew was the god who volunteered bravely to put his hand in Fenrir's mouth while he was bound. and Fenrir to his hand. Containers from the bark, and you can also make a shelter. If it's that way around, it means birth. It's actually a representation of a pregnant lady. If it's reversed, it means illness. How severe or how bad depends on the other runes with it. Next, we have Njal, represents a horse. Bit of an old nagger, really, by the looks of it, because, you know, sagging in the middle. Means you're there for the long term. It's pretty much the same the other way around. Here we have man. Man, two people talking. That means, yeah, communication between each other, which is a good thing. If it's reversed, it means you're not alone. You may think you are. Use the network of people around you. Yeah, you never know. Might do you some good. Lagu. This is representation of the ladies and of water. Now, put water in any shape or form, it's what's called a plastic medium. It'll form around the thing around it. And what it's saying is go with the flow. And reversed is your intuition. Just use a bit of thought, don't go in bareheaded. If it's in a man's cast, it usually means you're ignoring your female side. In, again, NG, it represents a scrotal sac, which the ancients thought where all life comes from. I suppose it's part of it, yeah. But it's suggesting new ideas, new concepts, the birth of things. Again, coupled with that. So it's saying, yeah, it's a good thing to think that out. Dag, this represents the sun, either setting or rising. And it's saying, it's a delay rune in that if it's a business opportunity, it's better because it's like wine, it matures and it's better for it. Friendship grows stronger. It's not overnight sensation, it takes time, but be patient. And this, the last one we have here is Othel. Now Othel is actually a representation of the house on stilts. That was quite common in sort of like the Bronze Age or around that time, because you know, rivers rise, you don't want to get your feet wet. It's saying, it's called a delay rune, yeah, because you've got to spend time with your family. You've got to look towards the house. Maybe the roof needs repairing. Maybe, I don't know, you need to take attention to your family. Maybe you're being too distant. And it's saying that. Now, the one rune I haven't covered is Weird, the blank rune. It's a difficult way to describe Weird. It has been described to me, and the nearest I think we can get is that which is outside the physical laws of physics. Some people call it karma. Well, it isn't that, but that's the most common thing. I suppose it's a bit like saying, what is faith? You know, it's a multifaceted thing which you either understand or you don't. You know, I find the rune very useful. It came about in about the 1930s, and I think it was Israel Regard who brought it about. Some Runecasters won't go anywhere near it. They say, you know, it's not right, or it's up to you, the individual. If that's what you think you want to do, go for it. If you don't, go for it. You know, I'm not here to, or anybody, to tell you you've got to do this. There are rules, of course, in magic and in the occult, but that's a different story. So that covers the runic alphabet. Okay, what are the runes and where do they come from? Well, I'm sorry to go over this again for those of you who have, this is for the people who've just joined us. The runes themselves, the word rune actually means whispered secret. Now, if you look way back at ancient Greece, we can see, now he gives it to me. If we look back at ancient Greece, you can see some of the ancient Greeks symbols are the same. Okay. That's all right, I was just humming an aria. I'm going to read some of the comments out first. Yeah. Brandon K. Have either of you studied or have you good references on Galdir? Have you?
What?
Have you any good references on Galdir magic?
No, I don't know.
Well, there are spell books, but yeah, you need to look around. Oh, grief, it's done up like Liberty.
What a cracking hour on it.
No, I was just looking at your dinner plate. Roman
Okay.
Biscotti. CC, any chance you can write runes in moon letters? I have no idea what moon letters are. So
Is that something to do with Ulrich? You had to think of Lord of the Rings when he had. I don't know.
Karen Wells Miller, I don't use a blank rune. Well, yeah, you know, some people don't. Some people say, you know, it's a modern invention, and that's fine. Ragnar Britches, oh wow, a surprise live stream. Hello Egil, hello Bragi. I've missed 2 hours track. Don't worry, I'm going back over bits and pieces, but please stay online and let us know. Roman Biscotti has sent me a spanner. Don't know what it is.
No, that's an admin spanner.
Alright, what's that one?
Oh.
Purple art.
Purple art.
No, there's one before that.
But is it a banana?
I've no idea. It looks like a rocket to me, but what do I know? Okay, so we were going back to the blank rune. Weird is it's a complicated thing, but you know, some people don't use it. So anyway, good luck there, Karen. What's the next bit? Oh yeah, I was talking about the origins there. If you look at Greek letters, as I've already said, you'll see some similarities. If you look at Etruscan, it's even more so. Now, the Etruscans were pushed north and south and all over the place because the Romans came in. And one of the little joyful things the Romans used to do when they're invading a country is kill off the intelligentsia. As they're intelligentsia, they don't want to be killed, so they went, we'll say, north. You go to the tribes there who realised their worth as people, but didn't understand a thing about reading and writing. To them, it's magic. And they attained over the time magical. Oh, hang on. Yeah, I've got a thing from Roman Biscotti. It's my blue wrench that's attached, and then I send thank you, hands and heart. Oh, thank you. That's very decent of you. I'm antediluvian. I know very little about computers. This is high tech for me, I can tell you. Bragi sometimes holds his head in despair, thinking, "Oh my God, who is this chimpanzee?" And you know,
There's only one Egil Thorsson.
and all I can say to that is, "Hoo, hoo, hoo," gives a banana. Okay, so we can then see that these attain magical things. What do you make the runes out of? I'm going back over bits that I did earlier, so you know, don't worry, Ragnar. Any organic material, you can make them out of. Seawash stones are pretty good. Clay, bits of wood are the best. You can get a strip of pine from your DIY shop, segment it into 24 or 25, and then put you get wood burning kits. Bragi's got one. Be careful, because you know you don't want to burn yourself. Oh, another one from Roman Biscotti. We all love you in our household, dears, and we love you too back. And, who knows? One day we might even meet you. So organic, and there's a lady on here who actually uses bark from a maple tree. That's as good. Some people say, "Oh, you use blood." Well, I wouldn't advise that because infection is pretty a thing. But you know, if that's what your bag is, fine. Speaking of bags, you want a bag to hold the runes in, something that is natural, and a cloth. The cloth keeps your runes cleaner, and also make sure it's blank. You haven't got embroidery all over it, because you're there to focus, yeah, and that's what that's all about. But yeah, so there's that. I'm sorry, I have to keep going to this paper because any more comments? Not at the moment. Rune by rune done that. The Northumbrian runes. Well, I've got to come clean. I've got to research them before I can explain them. I've not had much dealings with them. I know they exist. There's 33 runes as opposed to 24. It's called the Futhark because of linguistic differences. Again, you know, Some of the missing runes. Everything's balanced here. I don't know if you could see those. These are the runes. I know I'm not just briefly showing them to you. I have to do some research on them. I will get back to you on it. Right, I have a comment from Karen Wells Miller. Sorry. When I consult runes, I'm asking Odin for wisdom and clarification. He always gives truth. The runes have never lied to me. I only consult them when truly needed, never frivolously. You hit the nail smack on the head there. It's not a game. You don't go, oh well, I mean, I used to get people saying, who's going to win the Grand National? I said, the first one past the post. It's not there to tell you lottery numbers. It's not there for that. Give you guidance on certain aspects of your life? Yes. I would say also, Odin, be careful. He is a god of telling porkies at times, but if he knows you for real, you get the truth. So thank you for that, Karen. I've got a comment from Brandon K. What pulled you into learning the runes? I started off, I've always been interested in history, especially Saxons and Vikings. I knew of the word runes. I thought they looked pretty sexy. My mother once, just before birthday, said, what would you like for, and there was a book club, and there was a Ralph Bloom's Book of Runes, which come with a set of runes, and I thought it was just a book saying, this is A, this is B, blah, blah, blah. Turns out it was a lot more than that, and I read that, and then I found a book, I have to be honest, that changed my life, the Runic Workbook by Tony Willis. It worked for me, taught me step by step, common sense, and useful things. I later met Tony, and I was on his course, which was the next step from that. It took me 3-4 years, and it's not easy. I believe it still does it, but it's a lot more expensive than when I did it. You probably have to go online to find out about it. And Brandon K, another thing, sexy runes, lol. All right. Ragnar Britches, I'm having trouble hearing you, Egil. Is it a matter of volume, or is it, because sometimes I know I've got a quiet voice. I go on a lot, but just send me a message to see if it's a volume thing or whatever, because I'm getting a bit hoarse myself at the moment. I've got the Cosmic Pixie standing there.
We are a bit quiet on camera, to be fair.
Well, I do my best.
I know you do your best.
I'm only a little fella.
Yeah, because you never had a gaming channel and you didn't learn the lesson of how to
shout.
Talk louder on camera.
Also the youngest child and shout.
And it does get to your voice talking.
Yeah. Oh, I hear you fine, but the video doesn't match the audio.
Well, just go and click on the live button.
Click on the live button.
And then reset the live or reset the live stream. I do that.
Do you want to come in and tell him?
Well, I can do, yeah. Hello, I am dressed as a Viking today. I am Bragi. Here's the brawn. I'm sometimes known as the brains.
Porno Pixie.
Oh yes, well I watched a video about that the other day. Now in popular society now we associate things with house porn and food porn.
Yeah.
So do you think there's such a thing as Viking porn, which I suppose is like really blingy, really nice silverware with garnets? That could be cast as Viking porn, I suppose.
I am not even going to answer that question.
The only reason I mentioned it because I was watching a Dave Gorman video the other day, and I didn't realise he had a channel. So I'll start leaving some comments. So watch out if he starts watching us, because we could end up on the Modern Life is Goodest. Did you ever watch that programme?
Anyway, Roman Biscotti. Oh, do you know it gets rather heavy now?
I could restart the video. Should we just try that? Hang on a second, folks. When I don't go into the text, don't get away from there. I'm going to restart. So we'll just see. Are the words matching the live stream? I think it's probably that time of the day as well in the UK where it's getting up towards 5 o'clock. It's a Friday. All these teenagers will be coming online now. Ones that have got out of school. Although a lot of them are not at school, are they?
Well, I noticed that I was walking over the Catholic school. Its playground was full of little people.
What can happen when you watch a live stream, Egil? You can get out of sync. So the live stream will be live, but you're watching a few minutes behind. So in the bottom left-hand corner, there's a little live symbol where it says live. If the dot's not red, then you're not live with the video.
I noticed that my movements are delayed on there.
Well, yes, well,
I mean, I'm not bothered.
we are going to wind this live stream up in about 20 minutes because I think 3 hours today, and then if you've still got some voice left, you can do those videos you want to do before you go back. So, you know, there's no rest for the wicked. I mean, I've got to edit all these and take hours. The other day I spent 5 hours editing a 15-minute video, which I was going to publish today, but it kind of interferes with this live stream, so that'll be out tomorrow evening.
Oh, that's, yeah.
So Roman Biscotti says, that's better, yay!
Okay, baby.
Yay!
Yeah, stay groovy.
So, oh yes, it's always nice to see you here on the channel, Roman Biscotti.
Yeah.
The only person that's ever done a collab with us.
Yeah.
Now, the other day I did see a Viking storytelling channel from America, Minnesota I think, or Michigan.
Yeah.
And I got quite a few comments to reply to. I just not had the physical mental energy to do that. But they basically said, are we up for doing a collab with them? They've got about 1,800 subs.
Oh,
they dress as Vikings, and she reads, there's a lady there, she reads Viking stories for children. So,
I don't see any reason why not.
alright, so now I have a comment from somebody you know, have a guess.
Who'd I?
Oh, have a guess. It's somebody you know, no. Somebody you know you get on with and you like.
Tangy?
No. Somebody local to here-ish, who's under lockdown.
Rob Napier.
Rob Napier.
All right, Rob, how you doing, pal?
Rob Napier says, afternoon, brothers.
Okay, how you doing, bro?
Yes, it took me a little bit of time to get there, but he did get there in the end.
One is so popular.
Well, indeed, you know.
And locally, about 20, 30 miles away.
You're going to be the most second famous Egil after Egil Skallagrimsson.
Yeah, well, we try our best. So anyway, Rob, hope you're staying sane. Keep welding, and that's here.
Now I've got a bit of a helmet, need a bit of welding.
Yeah.
So,
Matron.
yeah, speak to me about that. So, Roman Biscotti says, I would love to have you fellas do an outer space folktale for my channel one day.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure we could make one up between us and do that for you. Then somehow I can edit to you a finished product and send it to you.
We could do.
We do owe you one.
Pussycat called Dave in space.
Yes. Perhaps he went through some kind of magical porthole and ended up in some kind of a weird spaceship.
Was it aimed for children?
Well, everybody, but without swearing.
I wasn't planning on swearing in it, actually. I was just thinking of Bingo the scientific puppy making a rocket.
Well, yeah. You've got a lovely imagination.
Johnny the pineapple, the first test astronaut.
I nearly bought a pineapple last night for £1.
Oh, I think they're lovely. You ought to get one. They're really nice.
I love pineapple with a bit of cheese and something sausagey.
Very 70s. Very Abigail's party. No, it's just nice. You cut the top off, get the middle out, peel it.
I mean, you remember the 70s. You lived through it. You was there.
I remember the late 50s, mate. Never mind that.
Egil apparently did have a massive medallion and a flowery shirt, didn't you, Egil? But have you ever been to one of those Minder Cups? One of those
Minder Cup?
With liquid chocolate, food Tommy called
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean. No, I didn't have those. I used to have flared trousers with turn-ups.
Yeah.
Platform shoes, black and white ones. Cheesecloth shirt.
Yeah.
I actually had a perm at one point. And I looked right pilled.
So while we're talking about the 70s, would you like to give Egil's version of a guide to the 70s? Just in case you got time travel back in time, how would you survive the 70s?
Well, first of all, you've got to have, if you're a bloke, have a perm, cheesecloth shirt, flares. So you can get away with bare feet. My problem with flares is if I got barefoot, my big toe would catch it and I go flying forward. Ladies, again, you have a perm, short skirt or hot pants, depending on how you feel. Smoking was de rigueur in those days.
Right, I suppose so.
Cigarettes. The fad was for those that telly survivors, Kojak smoke.
Kojaks?
Yeah, they look like cigars, but they're not. They're long, thin, fat.
Was he not a bold man?
Oh, he was indeed.
There you go.
He's dead now, so that's probably advice.
He'll be probably bold now.
Oh, he's been dead a few years, bless him. But there's that. Disco music. I hate disco music.
Well, I don't mind it from 1979.
Oh, trust me. I've
got to think about disco music.
It's musical neuralgia. I hate it. Now, you've got some good rock bands, heavy rock bands going in, you know. You've got Hendrix, the god of heavy rock, Carlos Santana, Eric Clapton.
Anthrax.
Yeah, there's all those. So
band.
you've got that, yeah. Also, was it Black Tower Wine or Blue Nun, which is into white wine?
Well, yes, Blue Nun. Do you want to explain to people what a cheese shirt is?
Cheesecloth.
Cheesecloth shirt.
In years gone by, they used to wrap cheese in a very loose material, very similar to cotton bandages. It was called cheesecloth, very popular.
So Rob Napier comes back with cigarillos.
Yeah, John Cotton.
Did you have a little holder for your cigarette in those days?
No, I didn't. I used to smoke ordinary fags in those days.
You'd be like a post-teenage, wouldn't you?
Mm.
Yeah, a groovy young 20s Egil.
Yeah, I was born 1954, so, you know, I was 20 in 74 when my old man kicked it. So, yeah, you know.
Is that where you got the idea about the moustache, because you had massive sideburns?
No, what it was, my philtrum there
Yes.
was very pronounced now. It was very...
very up and stuff lip.
Yeah, and my dad also had a tash, so I was going to have a tash, but bigger than his.
Ah, so you do look like your dad then?
I look very much like my old man.
Oh, right.
I've got a pair of specs like he used to have at home. And if I pull my hair, even going bald like he is.
So we've got a few comments.
Mm.
Just interrupting your guide to the 70s, just in case anybody got time travel back there by accident. And Karen Roll says, I feel that the runes are symbols of faces. If you put powerful energies pulled and tethered, still an ancient well of power and wisdom open to us in by Odin. And do you think, you know, in the 1970s runes were very popular and that was when they were beginning to get popular, or is it more of a modern thing?
I have to be honest, in the 70s, all I thought about were girls, music, and the old marijuana spliff, which I don't do now.
Bad Egil.
Well, it's not that. It makes me psychotic. I get very angry and violent. But,
I'm speechless. Now, moving on from that rather quickly, Roman Biscotti says, oh yes, thank you. A cat in space is always wonderful. I love those adverts you get on TV.
I love pussycats.
A parachuting cat for Money Supermarket.
I just love pussycats. I think they're brilliant.
And Roman Biscotti says, I love disco and the disco ball.
Yeah, it appealed, I think, more to girls than it did to blokes, because women could express themselves dancing and blokes look like pregnant ducks when they dance.
And Rob Napier comes in and he talks about, and the great one and the only Sex Pistols.
Yeah, I can remember hearing the Sex Pistols first time, pretty vacant.
Yeah.
And I was in Ripley.
Johnny Rotten.
Yeah, John Wyden. I was on the Ripley Marketplace, the Thorn Tree, and they put it on, and I thought, yeah.
Do you want to explain what a Ripley is?
Ripley is a little town just outside Derby. Dates way back when. They're fair dates from Richard II's time. It's still there.
I hope so.
Oh yeah, it was the last time I looked. But yeah, it's sort of between Derby and Matlock, isn't it?
Well, yes. Yeah. And anybody watching this after the live stream from Ripley, would just like to say hello and don't forget to go and subscribe to the channel.
What he says, I hope you all thought to doing.
And how would you tell somebody in Ripley to subscribe?
Stick the finger on that belly corner. They'll do it then. Just say.
It's funny how people talk and have different accents.
Well, that's miners talk more than anything.
Now, do you have any more questions, any more random subjects we can talk about on this live stream? We do talk about random things, don't we?
We were still in the 70s.
Well, maybe not. Well, let's go to the 80s then. What would your guide, Egil's guide to the 1980s? It was meant to be in fashion.
Yeah. When I was in the 80s...
Rubik's Cube, 18.
Yeah, I was...
Crazy fool.
I was studying with the Open University because I was realising that you can't spend your life degreasing bits of metal. I haven't worked properly since. But having said that, I was doing the OU, an institution meaning the Open University. For those of you guys who don't know it, it's a correspondence course, or it was when I did it. And it's for people who can read and write and who missed out on education. And I found it marvellous. Not only was it you're taught by the best, but also I made friends and contacts, some of which I've still got today. And that's how I got to the University of York, by my exams and credits. So I was doing that a lot. I was also heavily into Tolkien, and I was in the Tolkien Society. And to bridge it from 79 to 80, I was in the part-time army called the Territorial Army. You'd call it the National Guard in America. And I had a great time in that. But as I say...
What did you do in the army?
Shoot at targets, clean.
What was your role?
I was an infantryman. I was studying to be an officer, but unfortunately, I had an epileptic fit on Crusader 18. I got booted out.
Oh.
The interesting thing, local historian Richard Felix was actually my captain. So, yeah. As I say, I then went to the Tolkien Society, where that's where I first got introduced to Viking re-enactment. It was what I call the bed knobs and rumsticks time, when baked bean tins for belt buckles and things like that. Time of great innocence and great fun.
So this just coming with a little comment here from Rob Napier. Hello, Rob.
You're Rob.
Hope you're having a good day so far, my friend. And have to agree with Egil, although he spelled your name evil.
Oh.
So I mean, again, have to agree with evil on the Open University.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have got my degree without them.
Yeah.
And I think they are underrated, aren't they? The OU.
Well, I remember Rob getting his BSc. I mean, I got half a BA, and then I transferred over to full-time education.
So you got a B.
Well, I'm a baba. But I did history and sociology, and then I did archaeology and history at York.
So what's it like to have initials after your name?
Do you know what? And when you first do it, you put BA on everything, but after a while, it's like having tattoos. You don't realise it. I mean, BAs now are so common; it's frightening.
Well, I suppose so, and that's a problem when too many people go to university. It devalues a degree.
All it means is that you've learned how to construct and use your brain to the best of your ability. It doesn't mean you're more clever. It just means that you know how to organise and do research. I know, though, for this channel, you probably think about the time I did some.
Well, to a degree, yes, because unless you have to pay somebody to do it in the future. Let's try to do it ourselves. Now, let's talk about this channel and let's talk about future content. What are you looking forward to filming in the future? And want to give you guys a heads up what you're going to be concentrating on.
Well, not to worry.
Right, I'm going to go in a second. Let the carer out.
Sound like you chained her up.
Down,
woman.
In this house, we do not chain carers. You've got the wrong house.
I was going to say. Anyway, as I was saying, we haven't done yet with Sutton Hoo. There's the helmet to deal with.
Yes.
And there's all sorts. It's like the shoulder clasps and things like that. So there's that to look forward to. Rob Napier. Roll biscotti.
So laugh out loud, that.
No, laugh out loud.
Lol.
Lol. Don't know. Yeah.
If you're very posh, you go MA, which stands for most amusing.
All right.
That's the posh version. We did try to have a campaign a few years ago between a few of us to get it going and established, but it's not quite cotton done yet.
Okay, can you drop the camera? Because I'm about to sit down.
I know, I don't want to drop the camera, it might break it.
Woof, woof.
I can lower it.
It's got to let the carer out. Get out. Anyway. So, as I say, there's Sutton Hoo to look at. There's all sorts to look at. I mean, the Sutton Hoo helmet, as I say, the shoulder clasps, and the Staffordshire hoard as well. I think
we have covered that.
I know you have done a bit about it, but to join that with the Sutton Hoo thing might be useful. Also, I'd like to do a thing on history of archaeology and of certain archaeologists. It's an interesting thing, and I'd like to start it off with what is archaeology, what isn't archaeology. There is a difference. Even today you've got treasure hunters and you've got archaeologists. Sometimes it is somewhat blurred. But as I say, excuse me. So I've been rattling on a while, so my voice may seem a little weird. I do my best. So there's that. We can also, I've got my notes still from as a student, and there's things like bead, history of bead. There's one we could do, I think, possibly early Christianity. I did a lot on that, believe it or believe it not. I think there's a few mileages in that. And just if you send questions in, maybe, or topics in as well, we can research it and do that. But again, it's worth that. Right, so we did. Now, back up Bragi. Bragi's not here. Vikings versus Anglo-Saxon runes. I don't think there's actually much mileage in that. They both use runes. They both, they may have known it. I'm sure that it's like learning people who know French or German. There are people who know it, and there are people who don't. So we shall see. We shall see. Now, if any of you got any more comments, it'd be really good for you to let us know so that I can have a chat with you. But now, as I say, in this particular time, I'll go on about it. COVID-19, it brings out the best and it brings out the worst. And some people find it very difficult to be on their own. That's why we've got this. And tell somebody. People suffering domestic abuse, tell somebody. You know, you should feel safe in your own home, and just tell people what's what. Do you know what I mean? Now, from Rowan Viscotti, Egil, do you have any crystals? What are your favourites? I do have some crystals, actually. They're packed away. I haven't used them in a while. Smoky quartz, rose quartz are nice, and this cup of coffee is even nicer. Thing about quartz, people say, oh, it vibrates. Yeah, it does. It naturally vibrates. Hence, you have crystal watches, quartz watches. However, yes, a friend of mine, she's dead now. She used to use crystals a lot, and there's a lot of merit in it. They're also very pretty things. But I'd like to know more personally about crystals. For instance, I have a big piece of rose quartz, which would be nice. So, you know, there you go.
This piece of Roman pillar there.
I thought you were on for bread. There we go, a bit of Roman pillar from Bragi. Nice one. Oh, I see it, yeah. Whereabouts is it from?
Rome.
All right.
No, Turkey.
All right. I thought it said Tyrkir for a minute. But yeah, I love crystals. Yeah, rose quartz is a nice piece. But somewhere I've got a chart on it. I've got a lot of herbs and spices with a chart on it. But a friend of mine, she's a master herbalist. Very clever lady. But yeah, you know, it's of the earth. They're beautiful things. We have a lovely shop, a place called Cromford, which is just before Matlock and outside of Belper. And they sell some beautiful crystals and Hoggenheim diamonds, which are, I believe, are from New York. I had a couple of them, but I gave them away. They're diamonds with heavy inclusions in them. But I've also got some geodes as well, which I think are beautiful. I've got all sorts tucked away in my little jolly box of miracles. And like I say, if you have any knowledge of crystals, please let us know. We cover all sorts of things here, and we're always, we're both willing to learn. But, yeah, so I don't know how much. Bragi's disappeared yet again. I think he's letting out the carer. Keep the doors closed because, you know, don't know who gets wandering around these places nowadays. And I'll put that there. Yep, we're stable. Yeah, as I say, hope everything's all right with you guys. As I say, COVID-19 has been a leveler, but the sooner we get a vaccine to cure it, the better, and we will. Just it's like the old story says, and this too shall pass. So yeah, you know, hang in there. So long as you follow the rules as much as you can. Sometimes you can't. Yeah, you know, whatever. And as I say, how to buy runes? Well, yeah, you can buy them. As I say, there was Ralph Bloom's book of runes. That's what I use. But it's better if you make your own. All you need is a strip of pine wood, segment it into 24 or 25 oblongs, and shape them all the same, so you know you're all right. And wood burning is pretty good for the glyphs. Some people paint them on, some people even go to the extent, which I think is a bit excessive, of using the blood. It's not a thing I recommend, but some people will. So once you've got that, you then want a cloth. But what I use, I go to a well-known cheap clothing outlet, and I bought a pack of 3 handkerchiefs. They're white and they're cotton, which is great for casting cloth. And of course you can wash them. If it gets too grubby or whatever, you buy another. I think it cost me £2. And then you want a pouch, natural material, like that. So you've got your cloth in the pouch. Now the cloth needs to be blank. You don't want anything to distract you because you're focaling in. You're focusing in. Now the thing with runes it's procedure. Once you've done it once, keep doing it the same way, and eventually it becomes natural. That way, things you can interpret far more easily. And another one from Roman Biscotti. I love my ruins that Thomas made me. Oh, right, okay. That's fine. You're going to sit back down?
I'll sit back down a minute, yeah, you move your stuff.
I don't know. Things I do for television. It's all my sort of rock and roll. Okay, Bragi's back in there, so you want to read Biscotti's last one? Ah, nearly had coffee everywhere.
Oh, so Roman says, I love my ruins that Thomas made me. That's Thomas Dale.
All right. Oh, I haven't heard from him for a while.
No, he's been busy writing.
Right.
So it's fair enough. He just adjust the camera slightly, actually, as always, because I'm not quite fully on camera. There we go. Want to be professional, don't we, Egil?
Saying now, Tom, on, that's all that matters.
So, what have you been talking about while not being here?
Runes, how to make. I haven't been reiterated.
Who'd have thought it?
Yeah, I don't think we haven't used that for a while.
No, it's your little catchphrase, that.
I think we could make T-shirts eventually with that on.
Yeah, going to have your little face with T-shirts. So Egil rules, rock on Egil. Hashtag Egil Thorsson.
Bragi does it in
Onion.
Does it in long hauls.
Yeah. A picture of Egil saying, who'd have thought it?
Well, in actual fact, you have taken the photographs, haven't you?
Well, I wanted to.
I don't know if they're
Mugshots.
Are they online?
Well, there's some on Instagram, about 160 photographs.
Could you tell the people if they want to see
There's some
them?
photographs on Instagram. If you go to the top of the channel page, you see the channel bar advert, the banner, is what we call it then, and there's a few links there. I think what I'm going to do soon is attach a copy of all the links to our other social media like Facebook and Instagram onto the main description.
Well, the reason I started about it is there's some behind the scenes photos, isn't
There
there?
are one or two behind the scenes, and also a very funny video of Egil doing about a minute of dad dancing.
No, right. Well, that one where I was in your garden.
No, that's another one.
Oh, Techno Egil, that was, wasn't it?
Indeed, got to do another one day.
You have to hurry up. I'm getting old, you know. I'm 66 in November.
Well, we're going to keep you going.
God bless you.
You know,
I walk a few miles as it is.
we didn't have to have a downstairs studio when you're in a wheelchair.
Oh, well, I'll live you a lot. Don't you worry about that.
That could be years away.
Well, my grandma lived till she was 95.
Yeah.
Bad as a bedbug.
But as you get older, do you think about death more?
Well, I think that's inevitable, but I don't fear it. I don't embrace it, you know what I mean? But it's part of living, and I know there's a life after this, and I will come back, because I've been here before. So, ha ha ha.
If you come back as a female host, you'll get those more views.
I'll be honest with you, as far as I know, I've always been a bloke. But I've experienced a late mate of mine, she was part of my life as well in ancient Greece.
So let's have a look. Roman Biscotti says, welcome back, Bragi. Well, nice to be here again. And Roman Biscotti says, oh yes, I'd love a t-shirt, merchandise, maybe a mug of Northworthy Sagas and Stories. Yes, we'll do mugs.
Be nice if
Key
we can have
rings.
you on with us.
Well, one day, when I do our international tour, and we go to North America.
Canadian.
Yeah, we'll travel to Canada and America. We might even take Egil to Mexico.
It's a bit hot for me out there, mate.
We'll go in the winter.
Yeah. Reba.
Aye. So I think at the point where we're going to start thinking about winding the live stream. Have you got anything more to talk about?
No, unless people got comments.
So any more comments? Any more things we wanted to talk about before we do think about winding the old live stream up? But don't go away yet. You know.
Well, like I say, if you've got a comment, the more comments you send us, the longer we'll be on.
Oh, we have a comment here from Rian C. Hello, my friends.
Hi.
Hello, Rian. And how are you today?
Well,
This has been a live stream, basically talking about Viking runes. There is some kind of a structure to it, so, and it will be published afterwards. I'll have it in the title, Older Futhark runes, the Viking runes. So,
Don't
I've got
forget.
an itchy nose. Nothing worse than having an itchy nose on camera.
We're having no subs. We want as many subs as
Oh
we
yes,
can.
please share the video and tell your friends.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we're still very, very new and undiscovered, really, on YouTube, when you think about it. These are the wonderful days where the channel blows up, and then, although that's still wonderful things that happen, but I think these are the magical days.
It's getting more serious all of a sudden. It's not, you know what I mean?
So Rian C says, oh, I am late here. Yes, well, you might look a bit late, but you can rewatch it afterwards. And we'll stay on doing some more live streaming whilst you were here.
Yeah.
And Roman Biscotti says, "My door is always open for you both. If you ever get to Canada, well, one day, Toronto. I'd like to go to Toronto."
Is that where she lives?
Yes.
All right. I had a next door neighbour when I was a lad, and his son was in Vancouver Island.
All right.
And from what I can gather, because he went by the Canadian Pacific trains, and after about 2 days, he'd had enough of trees.
There's a Danish Viking museum in Canada. And they've recently built a longhouse.
I'd like to go there. I mean, you know, to see Biscotti and Tangi. I don't, you know, I mean, I know Toronto's supposed to be an expensive city, but hopefully by then that won't worry us.
And Roman Biscotti says that I'm near Ottawa.
Right.
Yes, we'll definitely go there. A friend of mine went there once. And Varangajar says the Norse hospitality. And the Norse were very hospitable, weren't they?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's part of the religious thing. I mean, a friend of mine, I was telling her I was learning the guitar. She sent me finger protectors.
Oh, right.
I've sent her a text saying thank you.
That's nice of her.
One of the best witches and wizards I've ever met. I'd love to meet her again, but she lives in Liverpool, all around there.
Well, we'll go there one day as well.
Oh yes, we'll see.
We'll do when we do travel to these places. You'll probably see us dressed in modern clothing, and we'll do some filming.
I've got to
like
tell
Liverpool.
you, I went to stay in Liverpool, and it was fantastic. There's Lime Street, just off there. There's a big museum. You go in, and they've got a fossil of a pterodactyl.
Oh right.
And the restaurants, man, they're fantastic. I went to there's a thing called the Waka Maka Splasher. It's a DUK from World War II painted bright yellow. You actually go in from the Royal Dock up the Mersey and out again. Take a warm coat because it gets very cold. We went past where John Lennon had his first marriage, and up the hill. Chinatown is something I'd love to go to. It's like the gateway to Chinatown in Liverpool. You know, massive, great columns and an archway, all painted. It's beautiful. I'd love to go there because the Chinese restaurants apparently are fantastic.
Well, one day we'll start travelling and going to a few sites.
Shopping.
We'll have to figure out a way how to put on Viking kit very quickly.
Maybe not advisable, I don't know.
Well, I certain sites may want to do that if you're going to go to like Dome Circle.
I went there when it was the City of European Culture. Tell you what, they've also got in the museum part of the Kudel Hoard.
Oh yes.
And their wildlife section. Woof, woof. You go up the stairs and there's a tank about the size of your trunk. 5 lionfish in it.
Oh, I thought you meant a tank, not a fish tank.
Oh no, you're going to go to Salford for that. And then there's scorpions with ultraviolet light on them. And there's amazing wildlife there in the museum itself that I would thoroughly recommend people visit. Now, if it's tank, bang, bang you want to see, there's the War Museum at Salford. And as you go in, there's a tank that was captured in the first war, you know, with Saddam Hussein.
Oh yes.
And on the side is welded property of Corporal Walker.
Ha.
You go through the door and there's a Hawker Harrier strapped to the wall and a Willis Jeep. The restaurant there is superb. The museum shop is great. I got the 60-hour version of the Great War. It was shown in 1964 when I was a lad, and is brilliant. There was a Walther PPK, and that really wound you up. It's pointed right at your face. But there's also something from the Holocaust, the uniform, the clogs, and loads of photographs from the stars, which are very moving.
Oh yes.
That I would suggest anybody going there, well worth a visit. And across from that is the Lowry Museum.
Oh right. Is it like a little guide to Liverpool here?
Oh, this is Salford.
Salford, I mean.
Yeah. Liverpool itself is a lovely place. I love the people, I love the place. And I thoroughly recommend anybody who wants to go there, go there.
So we've got a comment here from Ragnar Breaches.
Hi, Ragnar.
And they say, I'm chasing Egil's age. I remember the 70s and I wanted a pair of turn-up bowl bottoms.
Yeah.
Could not afford so. So my grandmother made me a pair. The trouble was they was made of D-Mob World War II material. So
I'll tell you something.
you must have been thirsty.
I bought myself a suit. The jacket, it was blue serge, and it had tulip lapels. Ragnar will know what I'm talking about.
Bragi.
Yeah.
Oh, Ragnar, yeah.
The trousers no pockets,
Oh, right.
flares with turn up,
Yes.
and a waistcoat. And I was the dog's dangly bits wearing that. Trouble is, you got nowhere to put anything. But yeah, flares. Because I'm short. I'm only 5'6", and if you've got big flares and in bare feet, I used to catch my big toe and I went nose diving on the floor. Or if you've got platform shoes with high heels, again the heel can catch you in the flare. And woof, there's many a Asian hippie with a busted nose, I'm sure. But I like the 70s, obviously, because I was a teenager and life was getting interesting. I was in a band and I used to go out playing and having a good time. And yeah, in your 20s, that's when you feel, you're probably the same for you when you were in your 20s.
Well, I was in the 90s.
Yeah,
Mate.
but you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, I love the 90s.
Yeah.
Great age.
I was lucky. I loved the 90s because I was a student. I could be nice and pretentious, y'all.
I bought a pair of flares in Amsterdam and I got a free American flag with them.
Oh, right.
An old one. Maybe World War II age. There must have been loads knocking about after World War II.
Yeah. Well, as I say, I mean, flared trousers. My mum made me a pair of flares. Looked like corduroy, but it wasn't. I used to wear those at school.
It's actually against regulations to actually turn your American flag into clothing. Because there's a number of regulations associated with the American flag.
You're not allowed for it to fall on the ground, aren't you? And
No.
And if it gets too tatty, you've got to burn it.
Yes, it's a bit ironic when they go on about, well, you shouldn't burn our flag, but when the American flag gets very tatty and it can no longer service because it's no longer in the quality to be the American flag, they tell you to burn it, destroy it by burning. It's a bit ironic, isn't it?
Well, it can't be any worse than us making underpants and vests out of our
But it's
flag.
funny how we don't see our flag, the British Union Jack, or although some people say it's not called a Union Jack, it's called something else, isn't it?
Union flag.
Yes. So,
But to be honest, I mean, I could see, you've got all your states and stars, and if it wears out, you're obliterating the star. You're not representing the country.
well, yes, but we don't have the same thing with our flag, do we?
And I've got to say, thanks to America, we owe you a lot. America gets slagged off, the presidents too, but we owe them a heck of a lot. If it wasn't for the Marshall Plan, mate, we'd have been in real trouble.
Well, of course so, and thankfully the Americans helped us in World War II. But that's another story, as we often say, and perhaps one day we'll get Egil to do some content about World War II, because I thought you could talk about that for a long time, couldn't you?
And World War One.
Yes, with your favourite era
Oh yeah.
history.
One of my other things is I collect war medals and stories. And it's the stories that we try and keep alive. People live, people die, but their stories should live on.
Well, of course so, yes.
Men die, cattle die, thyself too will die. One thing that never dies is word fame.
Well, this is our word fame of the future, isn't it? You think
Yeah.
about it.
Oh yeah.
One day many people, after you're no longer here, 21st century into the 22nd century, will they be watching us? You think in the next 100 years people will be watching this channel when we're long departed or I'm very, very, very old?
Well, we might still be very, very old. Who knows? You never know. Either that, or we could be back in the Stone Age.
But I bet you never imagined growing up you could be doing something like this in the future.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, all I thought about when I was a baby was fish fingers and custard and things like that.
Well, not together at the same time, I hope.
Oh yeah.
But a fish finger custard sandwich.
When I was in the TA, mate, you try beef stew with custard.
I normally have fish fingers with a bit of butter and brown sauce or red sauce.
I'd had fish fingers.
I never had it with custard.
Yeah, well, in the army, you always get a mate who forgot his mess tin. So you have your first course and then the second course on top. It's actually not bad as people think. Salmon and chocolate pudding's nice as well. Yeah, it's still, never mind. Moving on. What have we got?
So Frangajar says it's St Andrews and it's St George's crosses, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the St George's flag that we've got actually comes from Sicilian pirates.
Oh, right.
It started out that we're around Sicily, all our ships were getting attacked and so was everybody else, but they noticed the white flag with the red cross didn't get attacked, so we thought we'll have that, and it became English flag. The St Andrew's cross was combined together to form the Union Jack or Union flag, and it's amazing how many people get it upside down. It's got the far left hand has got to have the white bar.
Oh, right.
But,
so we have a comment here from Roman, and they say, are you familiar with the Bill and Ted movies? 100 years from now, Bragi and Egil will be taught in schools because they saved the world. Oh, yes. Well, it's one of the positive things we want to do in this channel is make a better world.
Well, I think the only thing anybody can hope to do is to leave the world a better place than when they found it.
Yes.
You know, we're not going to be able to create world peace or feed the world or whatever, but we are hopefully going to make people happier that they've known us, and maybe we've given them inspiration to do something else.
Well, if Jesus comes back, he can pull out the fish and make a load of bread, couldn't he?
I am not going anywhere near that. That's
Yeah.
your,
I can't help it having a funny sense of humour.
yeah.
Anyway, moving on from that one, I was just thinking about that, and yes, that's a very positive thing. But have you ever known? Have you seen the Bill and Ted movies? So you never seen those films? Really?
No, I haven't seen many films. I'm 65.
Well, I've already seen loads of films by now.
The film that I thought was quite moving was Valhalla Rising.
Yes.
And to me, it's the first proper pagan film.
Well, can I just finish about Bill and Ted
Go on.
very briefly? Is that in the movie, Bill and Ted have a message, and they say, "Be excellent to one another." And I think that's a very good message, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And
those, yeah.
Yeah.
Where they do Queen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody's seen those films.
No, I haven't. I've seen bits of
It's a bit
it.
like not seeing The Gremlin or Star Wars.
Well, a mate of mine hasn't seen Godfather.
Yeah, or Jaws.
I've seen that. Now, my tradition at Christmas
Yes, oh yes.
is to wear my dinner jacket
Yes,
and watch Godfather 1 Christmas Day, Godfather 2 Boxing Day,
yes.
and Godfather 3 the day after. And I have to break Boxing Day so I go and see my sister.
Oh,
But
right.
here's the thing,
Yes,
my dinner jacket was made in 1986,
yes.
made to measure.
Indeed.
And I reached up to get something out of the cupboard and my britches fell down, so I have to wear braces. Now, how many guys can say that they've got thinner instead of fatter?
I was going to say buy a boat.
Now I've got braces, mate.
Do you prefer a boat or braces then?
With the dinner jacket, braces. With trousers, I normally have a belt because I've got my fag lighter on.
And when do you think braces came about in history?
I don't know, they have them on Viking clothes.
Did they?
Yeah, some trousers.
Yeah.
I don't know. A long time ago.
But how do you think about such things? How do you invent the boat? How do you invent braces?
Well, I guess if your britches keep falling down. I mean, drawstring, I suppose that's
You know,
a form of
what
a
did we
belt.
do before trousers?
Get very cold bottoms. But I mean, you think the Romans would have skirta,
Yes.
and it was the British and the Germanic tribes who had trousers because it's colder. Then, if you look at our clothing, it's a combination of the two. So, I guess around Norse times, I don't know.
So Owen says, a follow-up comment, there's a third Bill and Ted movie coming next month. Oh, right. I've heard about that.
Right.
And there's a very popular Viking game coming out end of the year, which I think we need to do a video reviewing the trailer to see how Norse and Viking it is, because that may give us more views and will be trending in the future.
I like the Austin Powers movies. I think
What, Gold member?
I've got that, and it's just, yeah,
Egil Thorsson, Man of Mystery.
I love it. I think it's a good laugh. I like the Naked Gun films as
Some
well.
of them were funny, yes.
I've got all three of them.
What was that cop program he was in beforehand?
Oh, Police Squad.
Yes, that was it.
Yeah, that's what it's based on.
Yeah. I like the aeroplane scene, was very funny.
Yeah.
I mean, could you get away with those sorts of films today?
Do you know what? You could do anything you want. There's always going to be moaners, and we've given this platform to anybody. Well, I'm offended by. Well, I'm offended by you not being offended. You know, just loosen up. Life's meant to be enjoyed. Have a bit of fun. You know, if you're offended, then don't watch it. You know what I mean?
Well, yes.
It's like you always used to get one at school and you used to moan, you know, and people just.
Now we have a
I bet
comment
I'm
here
really quiet.
from Rangajar, going back to talking about trousers,
Oh yeah.
and they say there is evidence, if I'm not mistaken, of Neolithic trousers. Which I agree with you.
Wouldn't surprise me in the least. Yeah, because I mean, Ice Age, it gets a bit chilly, doesn't
Well,
it?
of course so, yes.
But the thing I found, and this is related to it, you know, you talk about cavemen, you think of, I mean, you think of people with bear skins going hug. Well, they found an ivory figurine of a woman with dreadlocks and a fabric dress on, you know, carved in
Yes.
mammoth ivory. So, yeah, trousers makes sense. You don't want to freeze to death. You know, I'm not being indelicate, but without trousers, you're going to suffer in an ice age.
So, what do you know about the Rosetta Stone?
Rosetta Stone. God, that's
Now, I
funny.
can tell you it was found in 1799. I can tell you it was found by a French Napoleonic soldier.
It was
And it was the first time that archaeologists were able to translate ancient Greek and ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs.
And I think curvilinear B.
What was the third language on the stone? I forget.
I think it was Sumerian.
Yeah, or Hebrew. Maybe in Sumerian.
What was it Jesus spoke?
Hebrew.
No, didn't speak that. Sumerian or something like that. Aramaic.
Aramaic, yes.
Well, you've said everything I know about it. I know that we went to great lengths to get there, and the French guy sent translations to all, well, sent keys, copies of it to all the intellectuals, and he got cracked. But apart from that, that's as far as I know.
It was a question the other day on the question of the day on Alexa.
All right. Okay.
Alexa's always teaching me new things, Egil.
Who's Alexa?
Alexa, it's AI. In my room, I've got this little speaker.
Artificial intelligence.
Yes, you know what that is. Hey, bloody hell, you know something, Egil.
Yeah.
And so I can go up to it. I can go, Alexa, can you set a reminder for 5 hours? Or I can get her to answer questions. We might do a video in the future where we actually interview Alexa about Viking things.
My mate Anthony had this phone where you ask questions.
Yes.
And I upset the thing by saying, "How do you milk chocolate?" Couldn't answer.
Yeah, well, they can't answer everything.
I know, but it's going to be fun confusing it. But, what was it?
So, any more questions when we do start thinking about winding up this live stream? So you've been on camera quite a bit now.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about how are you finding this is your second live stream in 2 weeks. You've done a handful in the past, previously. So how are you finding live streams and what are you learning?
I'm learning that I can ramble on about all sorts. I've also learned that when I get in tonight, I will be very tired. I've actually got my dinner ready.
Yes.
Because last time I sat there, and if it wasn't for your cake, I wouldn't have eaten. So,
What was that cake like?
a bit dry, but very nice.
One of them was a bit dry.
No, it's very nice. Got
I
fruit
can send you back with a slice of banana cake tonight.
Woof.
And there you go.
Any cake's nice.
I can always send you back with a bit of frozen meal. Got some cottage pie in the fridge.
Well, that's what I've got ready.
Would you like to go back with 2 frozen sausage?
Well, I'd like to go back with some bread if you hint. 'Cause I'm out.
Oh, you need some bread, do you?
Well, I've got to make some bread.
Yeah.
It's going to make some damper.
Apparently there's been a shortage of flour.
Yeah, they have, because I always keep strong flour and yeast.
Yes.
And it was only since beginning of the 27th of this month that I've been able to get strong flour and yeast. Why? I think it's because they've been concentrating on knocking out loaves.
Well, yes.
Because I can see the point. Everybody needs bread, but not everybody makes it or knows how to make it.
So I have a question here, going back to the runes.
Go on then.
This is from Rune C.
Aye.
And they say, I have a question about the rune after Lagus. Is that the fire rune, Ing?
Ing. That one. Ing it's to inspire ideas. It represents the scrotal sac. In the Northumbrian one, you've got 2 crosses, one above the other.
Yes.
But yeah, it's new ideas, new concepts, births of new ideas, the seeds of birth.
So is associating runes with the likes of stones or crystals and plants, is that a more of a modern concept in rune knowledge? Or did the Vikings understood that runes are associated with such different things? Or gods were even?
If you're looking at methods, it all goes back to the ancient Egyptians.
Well, yes.
The Coptics, there are 24 runes, 24, the tarot cards, all of that goes all the way back. I Ching, I think that's independent of ancient Egypt, but there are a lot of parallels between ancient Egypt and...
Well, I've heard that before, yes.
But the I Ching, I mean, you've got a massive book, but I've never used it. It's horses for courses. Some people swear by the tarot or runes and others don't. I'm into runes.
So just going back to the Rosetta Stone, a little comment from Farangajar, and you guys always leave great comments, and we do thank you for that, don't we?
Yeah.
And they say the Rosetta Stone was inscribed with Egyptian hieroglyphs, Demotic script, and Greek script.
Demotic, yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for that. See, this is why we want your comments, because we're raking these things up sometimes from the top of our heads, and you guys know about it. Tell us, because that's how we learn as well.
I mean, that's the thing about doing sometimes these random live streams we do. We can pretty much talk about any subject, can't we, to a degree?
Well, to be honest, a lot of the stuff I talk about is 40 years, from my student days, and I'm trying to bring them out. But other things, it's like anything else. And if we get it wrong, we're only too pleased to admit our mistakes and to correct them. Hence, the Sutton Hoo ship I said hadn't got a sail. Well, it has had a sail because I read the book, did a bit of research for once in my life. I'm still reading that book, and I've got to learn about the Northumbrians. So if I could borrow your rune book on Northumbrians.
Yeah, I don't think how far it goes on to the Northumbrian runes, but you can borrow it. If not, we can buy you one in.
Yeah.
I've got a book coming this week about Northumbrian and Anglo-Saxon. And the Anglo-Saxons of Northumbria. I thought would be interesting. And I'm always buying more books. That one are about peace weavers and women in the early medieval ages. Looks quite interesting.
There's a book you might find useful by Judith Jesh at Nottingham University, Anglo-Saxon Women. Tyrkir's got a copy.
No, I think I may have that one. CNC says, I work with the runes myself, but I have to say it's very powerful as I have so much respect for them. It is very transformative, and I think that's a very good,
transformative is a great word, because my life is very, very different from what it used to be. It's like I say, I had been a Christian, and I just found it. I'm not humble. I'm not a humble person, and some of the stuff I agree with, some of the stuff I vehemently oppose. And as an experiment, I once had a copy of the Malleus Maleficorum, which I haven't got anymore, thanks to whoever I lent it to. I last till page 4. So
we have a comment here from Roman, and they says, "Thank you, dear Bragi and Egil. This was fun and educational. 2 big purple hearts. Big hugs to you and all. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Take care. Bye." Kind of a purple red heart emoji, which I can't quite see, and looks like a cup of coffee or a cup of tea.
Don't blame you.
I was thinking about this the other day. I mean, we often think to ourselves on this channel that, are we an educational channel, or are we not, in fact, an entertainment channel? And although I kind of coined a phrase and a term, which I'm not really invented, I think it already exists, but I kind of think we belong to a category called edutainment, because we educate and we entertain at the same time. Because how many times have you watched a video or you watch a TV programme and they're trying to teach you something, but it's done in a very boring manner, and you think to yourself, well, yes, I learned something, but I wasn't entertained, and I'm not getting that full value of that content I should be getting.
I mean, I can't sit and read reams and reams and reams of stuff, which may surprise a lot of people. And according to my sister, I do have signs of autism. And I learned through entertainment, and hands-on. It's like, I could talk to you about a sword, and we have. But you pick a sword up, and in 2 minutes you're telling us. And it's a Chinese method, which I discovered later on. I forget what it's called, but it's true. Yeah. It's like this stick I could take, it's carved, got runes on it, and blah, 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 blah. Hand it to Bragi, he's telling me.
It's ash.
Yeah, he's telling me about it. And that's what it's all about. And whether you're a child, or whether you're an adult, we can all learn. I mean, I'm learning now, and I'm 65.
Well, you do learn on these live streams as well, and you do learn every day. You read, something I did not knew, and I don't think Egil knew about this, was the fact that in the 11th century, if you was a Thane, it was compulsory by law to have a stone tower with a bell in it. Now, and you think to yourself, we always have this image, don't we, of a Thane living in a longhouse, but we often forget about the palisade and the ring ditches around that building and the building complex. It wasn't just a building standing outright on its own in the wild,
Well, one thing, going back to what we said before, a late friend of my father's, Colonel Wintle MC, was asked once, what did you learn at school? And I follow this exactly. And he said, a profound mistrust of adults, which has never left me. And I can see exactly what he meant. I had I think 2 teachers who I had any respect, and one was with the late Mr. Millington, God bless you, and Mr. Wrigley, who was my assistant headmaster. The rest of you, you're a washout. You're a nice guy, Mr. Grimes, who was my tech drawing guy, but I wasn't into tech drawing, but nice guy nonetheless. But, I've learned more since I left school, and people telling you, thou shalt not do this, you've got to do that. No, I do, I learn, and I learn my own way. And I think you're pretty much the same.
Well, same. I certainly learnt more out of school than I ever did at school. And we have a comment here from Frangajar, who's basically saying edutainment with a big emoji with 2 big red eyes, which is, I don't know what it is. we need about like an 80 set of understanding emojis.
It'll change by the time you get it.
So,
but yeah, I mean, this is something the Open University taught me, was that learning can be fun. And there are certain parts of history which are not as interesting as the others. And the Treaty of Versailles is one.
yes.
You've got to do. And what the tutor did, is amazing. We were all delegates of the Treaty of Versailles. I was part of the German delegation. I was Prince Max von Baden.
Right.
And we all took on sort of characteristics of, and I was banging on about, we were surrounded, blah, 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 blah. We had this lovely girl from Lancashire who was the French one, and says, do you agree with me? She went, well, no.
Now, just going back to autism, we had a bad comment about 6 months ago on the channel, which I hid the comment from the commenter, another YouTuber. These people never have many videos and never have many subscribers when they leave sort of comments like this. And he basically watched a video of me and you, and he basically said, I can't believe the autism in this video, which I kind of thought was a bad thing to do, and I think I was correct in doing the right thing when hiding that comment and adding the fact, adding autism to our banned word list. Because I don't think that's a very clever video.
Yeah,
and
probably some 9-year-old who's got.
Well, probably so. We're a little bit older than that. But,
well, can I just say to you, my nephew is autistic,
yes.
and I have not yet met anybody who is more focused and a decent person. And I've said earlier, I'm offended by people. I'm offended by people like that.
Yes, I thought that was quite an offensive comment, especially towards people with autism.
Yeah, and if that's how you'll view your life, then all I can say is you've got a very sad life and you need sorting. You need medical attention.
Yes, so any more comments, any more questions you want us to talk about before we do disappear? And I don't make it in a magical sense like magicians do.
Biff.
If only we had a budget for a smoke machine, we could both put it on there and slowly slink out of here.
Well, I could have got me pipe.
Well,
that's at home.
Well, yes, but I'll be coughing my guts up and through the fog of smoke,
The amazing Nicotino.
Well, each their own habit.
So,
yes.
Yeah, well, let's leave that. We'll talk about habits. Anything else? Any comments? I see a red blob at the bottom.
No, that's just because I just reset the page and I'll come back in again.
Okey-doke.
So I think we're going to start winding this live stream down. I don't know how you officially do that. Some days we'll just end them. So if you have any wise words you want to be departing on, have you thought about anything you want to say at the end of this video?
Not that, just other than please be safe. Take notice of what people are saying. Be kind to each other and stay safe. And if you've got any if you feel alone or whatever, tell somebody.
You kind of got me thinking there, but we'll just talk about the next live stream, which we're planning.
Go on.
So when do you want to live stream next? Do you want to do it a week Friday, or do you want to do one on Monday when you come up?
Well, should we do it if we do it on Fridays and then we do normal stuff on Monday?
Yeah, well, we do need to do some more normal filming rather than doing a live stream.
Folk tales.
Well, we need more. Well, we need longer folk tales from you, and we need more historical content. So perhaps on Monday we'll do that.
Have you heard about the empty barn?
No, you told that last time.
Yeah, I'll tell it again.
Yeah, well, you're going to get your timing right this time.
No, nothing in it.
So that there was a story about the old empty barn.
I've heard this.
There was nothing in it.
Yeah, that was off Dad's Army.
It was indeed of Dad's Army.
John Laurie, the great actor.
But he is a great actor, John Laurie.
Well, no, he's dead. But
Well,
yeah, he was in his day.
Back in the day, he was a very good actor.
Apparently, he was very much like the character Fraser.
Well, he's Scottish, you can imagine that.
Well, he was sort of saying, I was in Shakespeare, now I'm doing this rubbish.
Yes.
So I thought I had somebody coming upstairs.
No, so the next live stream, what we're going to plan to do is do a live stream talking about mental health and mental well-being. Because we think it's one of those subjects which I'm sure you talked about last time and you thought it was quite popular to talk about it. We can start advertising it from today tonight. We'll give it a little bit of time to build up. And we can talk about mental well-being. And I thought we could talk about the fact that men don't like going to the doctors, because I think that comes into that aspect. And also about the function when you can't get it working downstairs, because I think a lot of men also don't actually talk about such things. And
yeah, it's crazy because there are drugs out there.
Yes.
I complain. I'm diabetic, and my little brown buddies keep me going.
Well, yeah, blue, aren't they? But,
no, that's Viagra. I'm Levitra.
Oh, right.
You see, there's little differences right
Yeah,
now.
well, I think we should talk about such things, because I was talking about this with my friend Paul. He's a good friend of the channel. He's recently made us the new banner of the channel. So say thank you to Paul for doing that.
Thank you, Paul.
And he made us 1 or 2 thumbnails. He keeps promising to do some more, but he's not done any yet. But But I know he himself has been suffering with his mental health. And, you know, he's like admitted it to me, so I'm struggling with mental health. And,
let's put it this way. If you break your arm,
yeah.
go to hospital A&E.
Yes.
And if it's in here, still
Where do you
go
go?
there.
I mean, we're not experts, but that's going to be the next theme of the live stream. Because I think it's a good idea to perhaps kind of schedule these live streams with some kind of order what we're going to talk about.
We've all had depression or been upset at certain times. And, you know, I lost a mate through depression, bipolar. She hanged herself.
Yes.
And I miss her very much. She was very dear to me. And I wouldn't like to see anybody else go through that.
So, Vanguard says, good hunting, friends.
Mm.
So watch out for that live stream next Friday. All being well, if it don't rain and your sister don't come up, you'll get over. And the idea, if you're not there, then I'll step in and just do a general live stream where I read comments. So that's it for now. Goodbye. Don't forget to share this, leave a comment in the traditional way.
And subscribe,
and in your famous words, what should they do is stay
groovy and press that bell.
And ReNC says, I look forward to the next live stream. I will try to make it earlier in the next live stream. Yeah, and they're generally going to start 3 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time. So that's the clue. It'll be scheduled from tonight tomorrow. So watch out for that.
Okie dokie.
So, yes, thank you very much. I've enjoyed this. Just stay there for a minute, Egil. As we say goodbye on this, when I figure out how to do it. There we go.